Okay, and we are live. So I'm just going to give it just a few moments for you ladies to come on in the room. So I'm so excited about today. We have an amazing lineup, um, just awesome topics to be covered today. And so I'm just excited because it's going to be absolutely amazing. Um, I've been planning this conference now for what feels like over a month. And so I'm excited about today because today is going to be truly what I believe will be a turning point for a lot of people, a lot of ladies. And so I just want to invite you to come on in the room. As you come in, feel free to say hello. We want this to be interactive. I know that with everything that's happening with COVID-19, of course, we can't do anything in person, but I wanted to be able to bring something to you virtually. And so this should be, interactive. So if you want to come in, say something in the comments, say hello, ask questions or what have you, please feel free to do so because we are definitely wanting to answer your questions, interact with you, and just make sure that you get all of the information that you need to be able to move forward and to be mentally and emotionally well. So we're going to give it about 2 minutes and then we're going to kick off. So if you can hear me, let me know. If you can't hear me, let me know. um, so, hey, can you hear me well, Ray? If you can, let me know. You can hear me. Just gonna do a quick test. Okay. Good, good, good. Thank you. Hi, Latasha. Thank you for tuning in. Today is going to be exciting. We'll give it about 1 more minute. And then we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to kick us off and then we're going to just jump right in, ladies. So if you have Bluetooth or what have you, if you want to put your Bluetooth in your ear or your what do you call those things? The pods and clean house or do whatever you have to do. Listen, you can definitely do that. That's the beauty of technology is that you can be tuned in and be doing some other stuff at the same time, right? And so yes, ma'am. Nice to meet you. I so wish that we could see each other in person. But for right now, we have to do what we have to do, right? So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going to start on time today as well. So I'm so excited. So excited. So it is 10:30 and I want to make sure that we stay on schedule because we have a packed schedule today. Welcome, ladies, to the Well Woman Virtual Mental Health Conference. So first of all, give yourself a round of applause, a pat on the back, an atta girl, whatever it is, because today you have decided to show up for you. You have decided to show up for yourself. You've decided to show up for your family. You've decided to show up for your community. And most importantly, you have also decided to show up for this world because we need you. We need you to be mentally and emotionally well so that you can carry out the plans and the purposes that God has for you, right? And so I want to just start by saying, like I said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And initially I was thinking, man, we can't do anything in person. What can I do to make sure that, my ladies, we're taken care of, we're good to go, that during this time, even while we're in a quarantine or shutdown or lockdown or what have you, that we are preparing ourselves because this is going to be over one day. And we have to be able to show up in a stable place, right? And so I literally was laying in my bed. I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was just like, okay, praying like, Lord, what is it that I should do? And God started to minister to me about the woman at the well. And so if you know about the woman at the well, you know that when she encountered Jesus, that she may not have been in the best emotional place. There were some things that were going on in her life that caused her to feel embarrassment, that caused her to feel shame. And I can imagine that she even felt some feelings of unworthiness, right? And so I really like the fact that he took the time to acknowledge where she was, but he also sat with her even in that, even in her shame, even in her embarrassment. And so when he started to really pour into me about the woman at the well, this is what he said. There are a lot of women who are feeling shame, who are feeling embarrassment about their past, about their present, about having a mental health diagnosis, about having to take medication, just feeling bogged down with not only things that have happened, but the guilt and the shame of that, allowing past situations to just cause mental and emotional turmoil. And so, with that, he gave me the well woman, because at some point in life, we have all been the woman at the well. Our situation may not be exactly what her situation was, right? But at some point in life, we have all felt the mental and emotional burden of something that has transpired in our life, or something that we might have done in our past. Okay. And so I just want to be clear that when we feel guilt, when we feel shame, when we feel embarrassment about anything, that in turn causes mental and emotional turmoil. When we talk about anxiety and we talk about depression, oftentimes, when I dig deep with my clients, oftentimes what causes the anxiety or the depression is the thought life. It's the negative thoughts, the constant thoughts about self, who they are, right? It's the constant attack on self-esteem and on identity. So I'm going to back up for just 1 second here. I'm B Speak, CEO and founder of Pearls of Esther Incorporated, and I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. I provide clinical services in the form of private practice counseling here in the metro Atlanta area. I'm also licensed in New Jersey and New York. And so I also provide some counseling as well via telehealth to clients who are living in New Jersey or New York. Tracy says self-doubt. Absolutely. Self-doubt, any type of just those negative nagging thoughts, they cause anxiety, depression, and things of that nature, right? And so in the counseling world, we often talk about how thoughts influence emotions and emotions influence behavior. And so as I started to think about how, again, going back to the woman at the well, what was she thinking? She had been caught in, some adulterous acts. And as a result, people knew her business. Her business was in the streets, y'all. You know what I'm saying? In layman's terms, her business was in the streets. So I can just imagine just her feeling unworthy, as Tracy said, feeling self-doubt, everybody knows what I have done. People are looking down on me. Am I even worthy of anything? you know? And so I wanted to take some time to address that, because again, we have all at some point been the woman at the well. For some of you today, you are the woman at the well, right? And so as we're talking about, again, mental illness, women are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression, right? And so one of the things that we know in the mental health field is that sometimes men may not seek out treatment the way that women do. Sometimes we can be, us women, we can be a little bit more vocal about when we're struggling mentally or emotionally. We're more apt to reach out and get help. We're more apt to call a family member or a friend to say, hey, I'm feeling depressed, or I'm having some anxiety. I don't even feel like getting out of the bed. I don't feel like going to work because I'm struggling emotionally. And so that may be a factor that causes it. But again, as I'm working with clients every day, it goes back to that thought life. And so one of the things that I think is key about this time in particular, that we are in this shutdown, life has kind of slowed down in a sense, is that now we have the time to actually think about where we are in terms of our mental and emotional wellness, right? So whereas before we could busy ourselves with going shopping, going to brunch, going to lunch, going to the movie theater, going to restaurants, going out to lounges, doing whatever it is that you do. Now we have been forced to sit down or to slow down and to really have to look at where we are mentally and where we are emotionally. And for a lot of people, that can be scary because for a lot of us, we have never been here before. Not only have we not ever been in a pandemic, but we have never actually sat down and looked at where we are mentally and emotionally. We've never actually taken the time to think about how that trauma, that thing that happened when we were 5 years old, when we were 6 years old, how that thing is affecting us now at 40 and 45. How negative words that were spoken over us at school, being told you'll never be anything, you're not smart enough to go to college, you're not smart enough to have a career. How for the 50-year-old who now wants to be an entrepreneur, who now wants to launch their business, who now wants to step into the plans and the purposes that God has for them, is struggling mentally because their self-talk is reflecting those negative words that were spoken over them. And so it's not that they don't have the gifts. It's not that they don't have the skill. It is that they don't have the tools to be able to negate the negative self-talk that has been spoken over them, that is plaguing them every day. Those negative thoughts that they're having day in and day out, that's telling them that they can't do something, even though they are well equipped to be able to do it. And I believe that that's all of us. I'm not exempt. Am I a therapist? Absolutely. But I'm not exempt from the ills and wheels of life. I'm not exempt from trauma. I'm not exempt from moments of low self-esteem. I'm not exempt from moments of not knowing, not feeling like I'm good enough to do a thing, or that I know enough to do a thing, or I'm smart enough to do a thing. I'll share a little bit of my testimony here. It's only been within the past, I would say, few months that I've really started to speak out more publicly in this arena of mental health. And why? Because I felt like, who am I to speak out? I know what I know, I do what I do, I know the successes that I'm seeing with my clients, but who am I? What makes me the person to be able to speak out and share what I know, to hear, you ladies' stories that bless me every time because of your ability to triumph and your ability to overcome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, Tracy. Hey, Carrie. And so for a long time, I had those thoughts, and that even goes into what we call imposter syndrome, right? Imposter syndrome is merely the fear that you'll step out, do what you're called to do, and for whatever reason, people will find out or figure out that you don't know enough. You don't know what they thought you knew. You know what I'm saying? And so those were negative thoughts that I was having. But the more I started to combat those thoughts and say, you know what, Brandy, why not you? Why can't you speak to these issues? You've been in this field for over, over 8, well, really over 10 years, but been licensed over 8 years. Why not you? And so that's my first question to you ladies today. And I want you to think about this as our speakers are coming on. Think about today. And I kind of sent the questions out in an email, but what's stopping you from pursuing your purpose? What's stopping you from becoming mentally and emotionally well? What is your self-talk that you're enduring day in and day out, even those thoughts that you're not saying to anyone? those thoughts that you're not sharing with anyone because you don't want to be judged. Or even for my ladies who are in church, who are Christian women, I'm about to go here real quick, because sometimes even as Christians, we can feel like mental health, depression and anxiety. If you have that stuff, you're not walking in the word, you're not a Christian, you don't believe in God, because Christians don't go through that. Well, I am here to tell you that is a lie from the fiery pits of hell. That is a lie from the hottest pits of hell, because as Christians, we are not immune from life. And going back to the woman at the well, she wasn't immune from life happening. She was not immune from feeling fear or feeling embarrassment or feeling shame. The difference was Jesus came and sat with her in that. Jesus came and he knew about her past. And I'm sure that he knew the shame and the embarrassment that she felt. But he sat with her in it. He didn't judge her for it. He sat with her in that. And so I just want to encourage you in that even for us as believers, we can definitely have it hard. We can be hard on ourselves out here. Like if I'm feeling anxiety or I'm feeling depression, then that doesn't make me a good person. Who am I that I can, that I can't just shake this. I can't get over this. My relationships are affected. My parenting skills are affected. We're going to cover all of this today. My ability to do things around the house or my ability to set boundaries is affected. Who am I that I can't shake this off? I also want to relieve you today of the thought process that you have to be Superwoman, because you absolutely do not have to be Superwoman. We hosted an event this time last year on this exact same weekend, as a matter of fact, called Curing the Superwoman Syndrome. The Superwoman Syndrome is just feeling like we have to be super, that we have to, be able to do everything, to know everything, to not take care of ourselves, to ignore what we need to meet the needs of everybody else. And the Superwoman Syndrome, sis, that's just a cover up. It really is. It's not based in anything factual. The Superwoman Syndrome is merely the front that we have to, that we don't have anything going on in our minds and in our emotions ever, that we're somehow immune to the ills and wills of life. And that's not true. So I want to also, encourage you to get rid of that Superwoman syndrome. Today, I believe that with our amazing speakers, that we're going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to take off our capes. And that's what I want you to do today. Even if, you have to kind of do a demonstration, act like you have a cape on, take off your cape. It is okay. Again, we are in a pandemic. None of us have been here before. And what better time to take off your cape, to be able to be vulnerable with yourself, with God or your higher power, with the people who are around you, and say, hey, now that I've slowed down, I realize that I have some issues and some things that I need to overcome. I have some things from my past that, I've been struggling with for a while. And now I have some time to actually deal with them. Now I have some time to actually process what's going on. Now I have some negative self-talk that has been plaguing me for years. Now I have some time to actually examine what those thoughts are, right? And so again, going back to the first question, what is your negative self-talk that's keeping you from walking in your purpose or the fullness of who God has created you to be? Be real about it. One of the most powerful things that I have learned to do, and I didn't learn it just because I stumbled upon it. I learned it because I went through something that forced me to have to change the way that I talk to myself, right? One of the most powerful things that you can do is be honest with yourself about your negative self-talk. Be honest with yourself about those thoughts about yourself that are causing you shame, embarrassment, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, low self-worth. Be honest with yourself about those things. You know, the Bible says to confess your sins one to another that you may be healed. I often take out the word sins. You know, I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but I do. But I replace the word sins with confess your hurts, your pains, your trauma. There's power in being able to confess and be honest with exactly where you are. And so if you have a journal, today I want to encourage you, if you have a moment, pull out your journal. Pull out, you know, a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and take notes. Take notes on what is it going to take to move you forward in your mind, in your emotions, because that's the first place that any of this starts, right? And so again, we want this to be interactive. You know, my guests are going to be coming in. We're going today until 2 o'clock. And so if you have questions, again, you know, we encourage you to definitely post your questions in the comments. I see all of you ladies' comments. We must get past what the world thinks and hold to knowing that God saved us for a reason, that reason being our testimony to help others heal. Absolutely, Tracy. Absolutely, 100%. And so we want to be able to provide you with those tools to be able to heal yourself first, number one, so that you can also help others heal. And so just as a very quick rundown of what we have today, we're going to have a few different individuals come on today. So the first one was me. Number one, I'm B Speaks again, CEO of Pearls of Esther Incorporated. The second person that we're going to have come up is none other than the Robin May. Oh my gosh. So Robin is a colleague and friend of mine. I've known Robin now for about 10 years, and she is going to come up and she's going to talk about maintaining healthy relationships. If you have not ever heard Robin speak, she is amazing. Let me just say that. Anytime I have a conference, she always comes through and she shuts it down, like point blank and period. She shuts it all the way down, right? And so she's going to come. I got my notes right here. She's going to come on at 11 o'clock here shortly. Then after that, we're going to have Miss Tameka Grimes. And Tameka is actually a licensed school counselor as well as a licensed professional counselor. And so she's going to come on and talk to us about managing anxiety and depression. If you're parenting right now, she's also going to talk about, you know, not only managing your anxiety and depression right now for yourself, but also helping your kids to manage their anxiety and depression. Because again, with everything changing, our kids are feeling it too. We're not the only ones who are affected. And so Tameka's going to come on right after Robin, and she's going to talk. I want to encourage you again, ladies, post your questions in the comments. You have licensed therapists at your disposal. And so post your questions and your comments so that they can read them and make sure to address them. Shortly after that, we're going to have Miss Erica Utley, who is also a licensed professional counselor. And so she is going to come on and talk to us about managing our trauma, right? And so we often, you know, we hear the word trauma, but how many of us are ready to address our trauma? What does it look like to address our trauma, right? And so she's going to talk to us about defining trauma as well as being able to heal from trauma and what that process looks like. And then we're going to have the lovely Christina Garrett come on. She is the founder of the Mamathon Diaries, and she's going to talk to us about how to create boundaries and to also be able to just make sure that we're doing our self-care. Because again, when it goes back to that Superwoman Syndrome, a lot of times we miss out on our own self-care because we're trying to care for everybody else. And we feel guilty, there's that word again, when we have to set boundaries so that we can protect our mental and emotional space. And so I appreciate you ladies hanging out with us until 2 o'clock. And so I see that Robin is in queue. Ladies, if you have questions, we're going to just be on just a quick 2-3 minutes. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, grab whatever it is that you're drinking this morning to get your day started, your smoothie, your ginseng, whatever it is that you're, drinking, or grab your breakfast or your brunch. And then we're going to jump right back in at 11 o'clock with Robin May. And so, ladies, again, if you have any questions about anything that I've shared today, or just questions in general about mental health or the day as a whole, please, please, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section so that I can answer your questions as well. So I'm seeing your comments here. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We're going to get rid of the mirage today. And so I'm going to just pop over and see if Robin is ready to come on in the room. So again, Robin May is up next, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Really, I really couldn't do her introduction justice because she is absolutely amazing. And so she's going to come in and talk to us about relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and add Robin to the stream here. Good morning.
Good morning, Brandy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. This is so fancy.
Good.
This is so network TV-esque.
Oh my, really? Oh my gosh.
I'm prophesying over you, girl. I'm prophesying.
Hey, man. Hey, I receive it. Let me lift my hand so I can receive it properly, right?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much, Robin, for tuning in. You know that I always value your wisdom, and I always say that you are the Michelle Obama of my world. And so you're the closest that I'll get to Michelle Obama, right?
As of right now, because the star is rising, honey.
Amen. So yes, right now. Yes. But again, I always value your wisdom. I value what you share and how you just are. You operate in this realm of coaching on relationships just so well, and you're so good at making it very practical, but also as a woman of God, you also incorporate our faith into it. And so, Robin, once you get started, I'm going to take myself off the screen so you'll have full screen visibility. But I want you to introduce yourself. Before I do that, I want you to introduce yourself and talk about what you've got going on and where the ladies can follow you.
Okay, awesome. So, Brandy, first of all, is there some feedback? I hear feedback. Is there feedback on your end?
I don't hear any, no.
Okay, perfect. All right. So first of all, I want to thank you for having me with you today. I'm so proud of all the work you've done. We've been doing this life together for a while. We've been partnering together on so many things for a long time. And so, this is not even what I'm supposed to be talking about, but I just love divine connections.
Amen.
You started working at the agency where I was working, and girl, what was that? Like, how many years ago?
10.
Oh my
like that literally was 2010. It made 10 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Gosh, that was so long ago. I only had 2 kids back then, barely, because my middle baby was 1. And so you started working there, and then God just knitted our hearts together. And this is not even what I'm talking about today, although it kind of is, because I'm talking about relationships, and I'm really focusing on romantic relationships, but throughout my conversation, I'll just be showing you how this shows up in other areas. But our God knitted our hearts together. And so I just really want the viewers to understand, you don't know why God has placed you somewhere. You don't know why God has assigned you somewhere. And when we stop seeing our lives just by what we can see, we'll begin to see it the way God sees it, and asking him to show me. If I'm at this job, I might be ready to leave, but maybe there's a connection that you have for me. Maybe there's somebody that's coming that you want me to be connected to. So I'm grateful for you, Brandy. I'm grateful for the work you do. I'm grateful for your integrity, for your heart towards people, and specifically your hearts towards women. So again, my name is Robin, and Brandy says, share what I'm doing. Listen, my full-time job right now is throwing quarantine birthday parties. Okay, that's my full-time job right now. All three, can I tell y'all, all three of my daughters have had birthdays on quarantine. So today is the last one. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
My baby turned 6 today. And so I wish I was courageous enough to be real transparent and show y'all what's happening right on the other side of this screen. But it's a hot mess because we've been decorating and there are balloons floating in the air. We've been decorating. So that's what I do. That's what my heart is. But what I do professionally is that I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm a certified life coach. I'm a first lady of a whole church. I always say a whole church. It's not a whole church. It's a whole church. It's a whole church. And I am committed to empowering women and equipping couples. And I do that through several different manners. I do it through coaching. I do it through counseling. I do it through speaking. I do it through ministry. And so today I'm going to be sharing on the topic of relationships. So that's what I'm going to be doing today.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Robin. I know today is a busy day for you. And so I appreciate you taking this time to minister to me and to minister to the ladies who are viewing. And so I'm going to go ahead and take myself off the stream and give you full screen visibility, and you can have at it. So.
Awesome. Hey, ladies, I'm super excited to be a part of this gathering with you. Listen, for me to take time away from my daughters, you got to know that Brandy means a lot to me. And not only does Brandy mean a lot to me, so do you, even if I've never met you. I really have committed my professional life, like I said earlier, to empowering women and equipping couples. And when it comes to women, I really want you to understand how God created you, what he did in you when he breathed his life into you. You know, I love to talk about the fact that once you accept Jesus, the very power that raised Christ up from the dead is the same power that lives within you. And so I want you to see yourself in that way. But today I'm talking specifically on the topic of relationships. So I want to kind of let you know what you can expect during our time together. Okay. So I have had the honor to be with Brandy at different events that she's hosted. And I believe it was last year, I was able to talk a little bit about the building blocks of a healthy relationship. Now, if you were at that conference, guess what? You're getting another dose. I'm going to talk again about that same topic, the building blocks of a healthy relationship. And the reason why I want to do that, even if you were at the conference, I think this will still help you just to reiterate. One of the things my husband says all the time is by the time you get sick of hearing something, that's the time you finally gotten it. And so if you were at the conference last year, you're going to get a little bit of this. But before I go into that, I also want to start it out by talking about some of the things that, 5 things in particular that really hinder our ability to have healthy relationships. So I'm going to get into that. Now, of course, I am talking about romantic relationships, whether I'm talking about you and your spouse, you and your significant other, or the person you want to be with. Let me tell y'all, this is hilarious. The other day, my middle daughter lost her cell phone, and she had lost it for about literally 10 days in the house. How do you lose your cell phone in the house? So she had lost her cell phone in the house. Long story short, I just decided yesterday to start helping her find her phone. So I was helping her. We were looking. Eventually, she walked out the room, and I plopped down in the middle of the den, or the middle of my daughter's room. I'm sorry. I plopped down in the middle of my daughter's room. And I just prayed a simple prayer. I said, God, she's a sweet girl, and she really wants her phone. And you care about what we care about. You care about what concerns us. So God, can you help my baby find her cell phone? You can tell me exactly where to look, Father, and I'll be able to find it. Y'all, I'm praying about a cell phone. When I tell you, I stood up, went right to a dresser in my daughter's room, put my hand in there and pulled out the phone. Like, it was unbelievable. So anyway, I'm telling my girlfriend that, and I'm saying, girl, so I'm telling her the story. I was sitting down and I just prayed this simple prayer and God took me right to the phone. My girlfriend said, I need you to do something for me. So I need you to go right back to that space you were in, that same room. I need you to sit in that same spot, and I need you to pray that same prayer. I need you to say, she's been a good girl. Can you help her find her husband? Can you help her? He has lost. He has been lost. Can you help her find her husband? And so I'm not only talking to those of you who are married. I'm not only talking to those of you who have a significant other. I'm talking to those of you who desire a relationship so that when he shows up, when you find him, no. When he finds you, you will be fully prepared. So I want you to listen in closely. All right. So like I told you, eventually I am going to get to the building blocks of a healthy relationship. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now, when I get to that part, you can definitely take notes, but you can also just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/Jinga. You know, the game Jinga. You can just go to IBelieveInMarriage.com/Jinga and you'll get all of the information that I'm sharing when I get to the building blocks. So go ahead and take notes, but also know you can go there and go through the series yourself. All right. And it's absolutely free. Absolutely free. All right. So I wanted to start out though, because again, I'm going to be talking about the building blocks of a healthy relationship. But before I can start talking about the building blocks of a healthy relationship, I want to talk about 5 things that hinder effective relationships or healthy relationships when it comes to our communication. Okay. Now, again, I want you to listen to this through the lens of your romantic relationship, but I just want you to listen to this through the lens of your life, period. Whether it's a relationship with your best friend, whether it's relationships at work, I just want you to listen to this because these things often show up in any interaction we have. All right. So I'm going to share with you 5 behaviors that before we can even get to the building blocks, before I can start helping you build the healthy relationship, these 5 things hinder the relationship. Okay. So I'm going to share with you these 5 destructive habits when it comes to communication. Now, I have to start out by saying this. People often come to my office and they tell me, Robin, my spouse and I, we just can't communicate. We just cannot seem to communicate because that is what they often sense is the problem. But what I have found, y'all, and I let them tell me that and I let them explain to me what's going on. But 90% of the time, the issue is not the communication. 90% of the time, the issue is their connection. Do you remember that Verizon commercial where the guy would say, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Well, the issue wasn't the words he was saying. The issue was the connection was messed up. When I was preparing to come on here, I'm like, okay, can I make sure I can hear? Because I want to make sure that as Brandy is saying something to me, that I can hear her, that the connection is working. I have on the headphones. Let me tell you why I have on these headphones, because they mow the lawn out there. And I didn't want you to be distracted by that. So I had to make sure that the connection was good. So often, people tell me that the issue is communication. And I'm like, no, whatever you do at all costs, don't minimize this. You have got to protect your connection. So in order to protect your connection, here are 5 things you got to make sure you're not doing. Okay, here are the 5 destructive habits. Here's the first one. 5 destructive habits when it comes to our communication, which is really our connection. The first one is criticism. Now, many of you might have heard of John Gottman. Am I pronouncing that right? Gottman. That's how you pronounce it. John Gottman and the Gottman Institute. They've identified some of these as I think they call them the 4 horsemen. But when I tell you, I've discovered 5, and these show up consistently when I'm working with people in counseling. So the first one is criticism. Criticism in a relationship can best be defined as a judgment of the other person. So this is different than a critique, all right? This is different than just pointing out a concern or even sharing a complaint about something. So one of the things I have to work on with my middle baby, you know, my daughters told me to stop putting all their business in the streets. That's what they told me. They said, every time I hear you on a video, you're giving our business away. But my 10-year-old, one of the things I have to work on her with is whenever we point something out, I'm sorry. I mean, she cannot take a critique. Okay. So this is different than a critique because we all have to be able to hear things that we need to work on. But criticism can best be defined as a judgment of the other person. I love this. Criticism can often be seen as a gateway to even more destructive behaviors because it opens up the door for negative treatment. So I want to give you an example of what criticism would be. You would say something to your partner, to your spouse, to anybody, something like this. You never think about anyone other than yourself. I'm sick of coming last on your list. Here's the truth. You may really feel like that. You may really feel like the person you're in relationship with isn't prioritizing you. But here's the deal. How we communicate anything matters. If I hand you a gourmet meal, if I hand you your favorite meal, let's think about what your favorite meal is. My favorite meal is fried chicken, mashed potatoes, hot water cornbread. That's my favorite meal from my mama. Okay. So I don't care how much I love that meal. If she hands me that meal on the lid of a trash can, if she hands me that meal on the lid of a trash can, I'm not going to want to eat the meal. I don't care that it's my favorite meal. I don't care that my mother loved on it and gave it to me. If she handed it to me on a lid of a trash can that has been used, I'm not going to eat it. So when somebody gives you information, or when you're giving somebody information, how you give it to them matters. I often hear people say things like, I just tell it to you. I mean, you got to just be able to take it. The Bible says a fool. That's what it says. I didn't come up with it. The Bible says a fool vents all his feelings and a wise man holds them back. And so I'm the person who would always say, I give it to you. I tell my clients this all the time. Listen, I'm going to give it to you straight, no chaser. But how I give it to you matters. So again, you may feel that your partner is not prioritizing you. You may feel frustrated in a relationship, but how you communicate it matters. So for example, instead of saying, you don't think about anyone other than yourself, I'm sick of coming last on your list, you could say something like this. It's important to me that we prioritize time with one another. And sometimes I feel like I'm not as important to you. I really want to work on this. I hope you do too. See how that's different? That's not on the lid of a trash can. Yo, I want you for the rest of the day, for the rest of this quarantine. I want you to think about that. When you're saying something to someone, I want your question to be, is it on the lid of a trash can? All right. So it takes maturity. Listen, let me just step back for a moment. Because y'all, I don't want to give the impression that this stuff is easy. It takes maturity to be able to communicate how you feel in an effective way. It takes maturity, okay? It is not easy to say, it's important to me that we prioritize our time with one another. And I often feel that that's not as important to you. Like, that's not easy to do, right? Most of the time we are in the heat of the moment. We're feeling some kind of way. And so it takes maturity, but it is necessary. This is what I want you to ask yourself. I promise I'm going to get to the other four, but this is what I want you to ask yourself in the midst of any connection with anybody. This is the question that guides my life. What do you want the most versus what do you want right now? What do you want the most versus what you want right now? What I want the most is to get back into a size 8. I had gotten into a size 8 last summer. What I want the most is to get back into that size 8. What I want right now is Pillsbury chocolate chip cookies. So I have to ask myself, Robin, are you going to make life decisions based off of what you want right now? Or are you going to make life decisions based off of what you want the most? So when we're communicating, it takes maturity to communicate in an effective way. Because when your emotions are up, when you are heated, what you want the most, what you want right now is to get your point across. What you want right now is to let them feel how you're feeling. What you want right now is to give them a piece of your mind. But you got to ask yourself, what do I want right now versus what do I want the most? And if I want a healthy relationship the most, if I want a relationship that lasts forever the most, if I want a relationship where we feel safe, then I got to make sure I'm not handing it to you on a trash can. All right, I'm going to keep going. All right. So I want you to understand, if you are communicating from a place of criticism, I want you to see that as eating away at the foundation of your relationship. You're literally eating away at the foundation of your relationship. And eventually you're the person you're in relationship with is going to feel emotionally drained whenever they're speaking to you. And they may begin to shut down altogether. They may begin to feel like, I don't even want to have the conversation. Listen, this happens with our children. This happens with those who maybe report to us. You don't want people feeling like, oh my God, here she comes again, because she's going to find something. So you want to make sure you're not eating away at the foundation of the relationship. If you are in a relationship with someone who communicates in that way, who communicates from a place of criticism, here's some, I'm giving y'all some, listen, can I tell y'all one of my secret skills? Let me tell you a secret skill. My girlfriends told me to stop sharing this because they don't want their man to know this. One of my secret skills is that I give my friends scripts. Like I text them a script. Okay, this is what I want you to say. You say, because they know what they're trying to communicate, but they can't seem to communicate it in the right way. So I say, okay, say it like this. So I'm giving y'all some scripts. Okay. So if you're in a relationship with somebody who is speaking, who's constantly providing criticism, I want you to tell them something like this. Listen, I can tell that something is bothering you, but the way you are saying that is hard for me to hear what you really need. What is it that you really want me to know? I want you to try that. Listen, the way you're saying that to me is making it hard for me to hear you. What is it that you really want me to know? Try it. I want you to try it. Then I want you to DM me at Robin May Online. That's my Instagram. DM me and say, Robin, I tried it. Okay. All right. So let's get to the second thing. Remember, right now we're talking about the 5 things that hinder relationships, the 5 destructive habits. The second one is contempt. Contempt is when our communication has listen to this. When our communication has an undercurrent of disrespect, superiority, and maybe, this is harsh, but maybe even disgust toward the other person. So contempt. These are the 5 destructive habits, y'all. Oh, I want y'all to get this, because I'm going to tell you this. I should have started out by saying this. When these habits are present consistently, it often leads to the end of a relationship. When these things are presented, now there are times we may all show up this way every once in a while, but when this happens consistently, and I want you to judge your I want you to grade your relationship. And if you're seeing these things consistently, that is leading, it's like laying the foundation. It's like putting the path to the yellow brick road. It's like leading you right to the end of the relationship. So contempt is when our communication has an undercurrent of disrespect, superiority, and maybe even disgust. Now listen to this. This was hard for me. I don't even want to say this part, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm not going to only tell the good. Contempt can also show up as sarcasm. Y'all don't understand how hard it is for me to say that, because I think I have a PhD in sarcasm. And I think my sarcasm is so funny. Like, I just be so tickled. I just be so tickled at myself. But y'all, contempt can also show up as sarcasm, or it can be hurtful comments that are disguised as a joke, or maybe even name calling. You know, if somebody is always joking, but they're always saying something negative in their joke, that is contempt. Here is an example. I bet the folks at your job would love to know how you really are, because there is no way they would listen to you if they really knew who you were. Like, that's how contempt shows up. So it can show up in a relationship when someone has held on to negative feelings for a long time and they never address them. That's how contentment starts to bubble up. All right. When someone has held on to an issue or negative feelings for a long time and they never address them. That's why I don't think passive aggressive comments are cute. Like, when you're making passive aggressive comments, really what it is, there's something that you're trying to communicate, but you're not being courageous enough just to say what it is. And so that's how that shows up. So listen. If you are communicating in a way that's fueled with contempt, I want you to see it as emotional daggers into the hearts of the person you're talking to. It is emotional daggers into the heart of the person you're communicating with. It is leaving wounds. Listen to this. Contempt leaves wounds that saying I'm sorry cannot heal. This is why I needed to give you this before we talk about the foundation, and if I have time. So let me keep going. So contempt is leaving wounds that I am sorry cannot heal. So if you're on the receiving end of this, I want you to practice setting boundaries. You can say something like this: I have no problem talking with you about what's upsetting you, but I'm not going to tolerate being attacked. You may not even realize that's what you're doing. So if you want me to, I can point it out. But if it doesn't improve, I'm just going to leave the conversation. I told y'all I was giving y'all some scripts. So if you're on the receiving end of the contempt, that is the script you can use. Listen, you got to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. Listen, I'm not going to tolerate being attacked. You may not even realize that's what you're doing. So if you want me to, I can point it out to you so you can see what I'm talking about. But if it doesn't improve, I'm going to leave the conversation. Okay, let's keep going. So I talked about criticism, contempt. Here's the next one: defensiveness. Listen, defensiveness is often a natural human response to an actual or a perceived attack. That's important. Defensiveness is often a natural human response to an actual or a perceived attack. I'm not going to even get into how powerful perception is because I don't have time. But you know, perception is reality. So even if the person isn't really being attacked, but that's how they're perceiving it, it's their reality. But here's the thing: in marriage is just, or a relationship is just not a good strategy. Defensiveness is either our way of self-protecting, or hear this, it's our way to play the victim. Oh, I'm giving it to y'all straight, no chaser. I know, but listen, defensiveness is either our way of self-protecting or it's how we play the victim. And it's often void of humility because it doesn't allow us to be curious to what the person is trying to tell us because we've already put up a wall. So we're not humble enough to really hear. Now, let me say this: sometimes defensiveness is our response to the criticism or the contempt that has been coming our way. So again, it could be a natural response, but it doesn't work and it causes more problems. This is what it sounds like. Well, at least I'm not the one spending all our money. Or I don't say anything when you come home late every other night. It's trying to project or push the person off of you. So it is self-protection, playing the victim, and shifting blame rolled all up in one. That's what defensiveness is. So if you are the one being defensive, I want you to practice acknowledging what you are feeling, but at the same time, taking responsibility. So let me tell you what you could say. You know what? I'm starting to feel some kind of way, but I want to hear what you're saying. Let's start this over, okay? So imagine my husband and I, he's telling me something and I start to feel that feeling. You know that feeling you start to get, it just bubbles up. And I got to catch mine before it bubbles up too much because then my crazy just goes all over. So you have to say something like, you know what, I'm starting to feel some kind of way, but I want to hear what you're saying. So wait, let's just start over. Let me just hit reset. Let's start over. All right. All right. So I've given you 3. We have 2 more to go. The next destructive habit is stonewalling. Stonewalling. It can also be described as shutting down. It can be defined as fostering an uncomfortable, but listen to this, an uncomfortable and hurtful silence. So listen to this quote. Listen to this quote. The person who chooses to stonewall is no longer participating in self-reflection and is no longer participating in personal growth. Rather than contributing to the well-being of the relationship, they stop it from moving forward. The person who's being stonewalled feels ignored, misunderstood, invalidated, and just plain hurt. Listen to this. Many people who experience stonewalling in a relationship feel so unimportant that they just don't even deserve a response. Y'all, stonewalling has been found to be one of the highly predictive patterns of divorce. Stonewalling can be so destructive. It is found to be highly predictive of divorce, y'all. That stopped me in my tracks personally. I love to describe it like this: stonewalling is cutting off the emotional oxygen of your spouse or the person you're talking to. You just simply ignore the person. You refuse to engage. You pretend to be busy. You tune them out. You act distracted. You know they're talking to you and this is you. That's stonewalling. And all of that does nothing but create a hostile, listen to this. I teach a lot about the culture of a relationship. Every relationship has a culture. You and your best friend have a culture of your relationship, what's okay and what's not okay. You and your coworkers, there's a culture at your job. There's a culture in your house. There are things that are okay in your house and things that are not. The culture of your house. The culture of African-American women, the culture of our African-American culture, of our African-American experience. We know what culture is, but even in your romantic relationship, you and your partner have a culture. So listen to this. Stonewalling does nothing but create a hostile and emotionally bankrupt culture and environment in your relationship. So listen. I was working with a husband and he realized he had been exhibiting that behavior. His wife would text him a very emotional message expressing her heart and he just wouldn't respond. He just would, like she was frustrated about something and she would just text him and he just would not respond. But then when he wouldn't respond, that would send his wife on this whole emotional roller coaster. So then she would begin to come up with her own answers to the issues and then become even more overwhelmed. And the situation would go from bad to worse. So when I asked him, why don't you just respond? Why don't you just say something like, hey, let me think about this for a moment? He said it was just too much for him. What she was giving him was just too much. He didn't have the terminology for it. But basically, everything that she was saying to him was causing him to be psychologically flooded. He was just feeling emotionally overwhelmed. And so he would respond by not saying anything. But he didn't realize that listen to this. He didn't realize that his non-response was doing more damage than any other response he could give. He was stonewalling. So listen, when you stonewall, it tells your spouse that you see that they have a need, but you are refusing to meet it. When you stonewall, you're telling your spouse, I see you have a need, but I'm refusing to acknowledge it. All right, let me keep going. Here's the last one. The fifth destructive behavior is called gaslighting. I know Brandy is probably somewhere shouting about that because we talk about gaslighting all the time. The fifth destructive behavior is called gaslighting. And this is defined as manipulating someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. Now, let me say this. When people gaslight, I don't necessarily believe that they're sitting there saying, you know what I'm going to do is try to gaslight them. No, but they're trying to control them. And so it's manipulating someone to question their own sanity. Let me tell you how it shows up. Through direct lying when you know the truth, but the person who's stonewalling does everything to convince you that you are wrong. You know the truth, like you can see it right there, but they do everything to convince you that you're wrong. It shows up when the person uses something that you've shared that is very personal. They use that against you. It shows up by accusing you of doing what they've been doing. So let's say you are married and your partner comes home sometimes late at night, 2 a.m. every morning. And then one time you come home at 12 and they start to say, that's what I'm talking about. You want to come in all times of night? No, that's what you do. So it's accusing you of what they are doing. So I wanted you to get some examples of what it is. And if you're doing this, it's an indicator of a deeper insecurity that you may have. Now, this is going to be hard to hear, but it's important for you to acknowledge that. Remember, we cannot fix a problem that we don't identify. So if you think you have been behaving in this way, if you think you have been gaslighting, I really think I really want to encourage you to seek support from a professional, because sometimes you need to peel back those layers to see why you have been doing that. And if you listen, lean in, ladies. If you have been a victim of gaslighting, I need you to 911, don't call 911, but I need you to quickly seek support, professional support. All right, so I gave y'all a lot of information on the front end. Now we're going to get to the other part of our conversation, but let me just recap. Those were the 5 destructive habits: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling, and gaslighting. So before we can even get to the foundation of a healthy relationship, if those things are present, I'm telling you right now, if those things are present, you are just literally building building a building and then shaking up the foundation, building a building and then shaking up the foundation. And you're wondering why I can't seem to get ahead, is because one of those 5 or all 5 of those are present. All right. So before I begin to wrap up, I think I have about 15 more minutes. Before I wrap up, I want to dive into the building blocks of a healthy relationship. Now, remember, I told you that you can go to ibelieveinmarriage.com/Jinga to get all of this, and it is absolutely free. Go to ibelieveinmarriage.com/Jinga, and you can get all of this. But these are 8 building blocks, and I want you to hear me. This is what I shared with the women at Brandy's conference last year. And I just want to reiterate this, but I want you to hear me when I say this. I told you at the top of my time that I have committed my professional life to empowering women and equipping couples. I want you to get this. I have found that if you can master these 8 building blocks, whether you are in a relationship or not, if you are not in a relationship, this is how I want you to take this information in. If you are not in a relationship, but you desire to be in one, this is how I want you to take this information in. I want you to write them down. And I want you to rate yourself. I want you to grade yourself. If you have a best friend, I want you to ask your best friend to go over it with you to see, this is probably somewhere that you could work on it. Okay. Because I want you to be prepared. The other way I want you to take this information in, when you meet somebody, I need you to listen to their conversation through the lens of these 8 building blocks. When they're talking to you, I need you. Now, let me tell you what I don't need you to do. This is for my single sisters. What I don't need you to do is to take this list on your first date and say, you're not showing this one. I don't want you to do that, okay? But I want you just to listen to them through that lens. Now, if you are in a relationship, I want you to listen to these in this way. First of all, I want you to look. What did Michael Jackson say? He said, we're going to start with the man, in this case, the woman in the mirror. We're going to start with the woman in the mirror. I want you to listen to this and see yourself first. It's so easy for us to see the issues of somebody else. I want you to see yourself first. Then I want you to rank your relationship. If you're feeling real froggy, and if you and your spouse are in a good space, it would be great for you and your spouse to go through it again. Just go to ibelieveinmarriage.com/Jinga and just rate. My husband and I look over these often, and we'll say, you know what? We've been falling short on number 7. We've been tripping about number 5, because these building blocks are a game changer. Imagine if you were in a room filled with self-made millionaires, and they were telling you what they did to become a millionaire. These are a room full of self-made millionaires. I bet if you're anything like me, I would be listening for commonalities. I would be listening to the commonalities amongst all of them. There's sometimes comfort in commonality. I would be listening to commonality because I would want to see what is a pattern that I can follow. Okay, if this self-millionaire did this and these did the same thing, maybe that's what I need to do too. So with these building blocks, I'm telling you, the many couples who have come through my doors, those who exhibit these have healthy relationships. Those who don't have shaky relationships. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. All right. So let's get into them. So whenever I talk about these building blocks, I often say these are the building blocks to a healthy relationship, but there are some primary things that we all should just know. I give the full list. It's about 10 primary things that are just a given. We shouldn't even have to talk about it. Like love and affection. We shouldn't even have to talk about that on the list of things that are important. That's just a given. Respect and consideration. I shouldn't have to even tell you that. That's a given. Forgiveness, that's a given. I give you a list of 10 things. So those are just things that come with being in a healthy relationship. They shouldn't even have to be up for debate. I remember when I had my first daughter, who just turned 13 in April, when I had my first daughter and we came home with her, I was like, who's going to change her diaper? And everybody around me was like, you and your man gonna change her diaper. Because when you have a child, what comes with having a child is changing diapers, right? So this is the same thing when it comes to a healthy relationship. There are some primary things that we're not going to even get into, but you can get them all when you go to ibelieveinmarriage.com/Jinga. I give a list of 10 way before I even get into the building blocks. All right, so very quickly, let me dive into these building blocks. Building block number 1. Again, these are building blocks for a healthy relationship. And so I'm just going to say a marriage, but just remember, if you're single, I already told you how I want you to listen to this. So the first building block of a healthy marriage is to discover the anchor for your marriage, to discover the anchor for your marriage. So what do I mean by anchor? When I shared this with my husband, he said when he hears the word anchor, he thinks about something bringing you down. So I want to help you see this in a different way. When I talk about discovering the anchor in your marriage, I want you and your spouse to discover the thing that you both can grab hold to in the midst of a storm. Don't make me preach that. I really am not here to preach, but something just started coming all up in me right then. But the anchor is what you grab hold to in the midst of a storm. I don't care how happy y'all are. I don't care how smart y'all are. I don't care how much money you got. Every marriage is going to face a storm. Either, what the preachers say, either you're going into one, you're in the middle of the one, or you're coming out of one. So I want you and your spouse to identify what is your anchor? What is the thing you both can grab hold to in the middle of a storm? One of the challenges my handsome husband and I have had, we've been married now for 18 years. We've been together for 25 years. And so what would happen often with us, we see life totally different. We process situations totally different. You can hear him tell a story from his view, and I'm like, was I even there? Because that ain't how I see it. And so often what would happen in the midst of a crazy situation, he would go in his corner of the room, I would go in my corner of the room, and we would have a hard time coming back to the center of the room. The anchor is the thing that helps you come back to the center of the room, because you don't need to deal with situations separately. For my husband and I, our faith is our anchor. Prayer is our anchor. Worship is our anchor. I can't tell you what your anchor is, but you need an anchor. So you need to identify what is the thing that you both agree to, that you can grab hold to when life is crazy. It doesn't even have to be issues between the two of you. It could just be life stuff. My husband and I have had a lot of life stuff, from owning a movie theater and the doors closing, from him being the CEO of the cab and dealing with a whole bunch of drama. We've had a lot of stuff. And we've had to be able to grab hold to our anchor. So I want you and your spouse, if you're dating, you and the person you're dating, I want you, if you're single, to think about what is the anchor that we both can agree on, that we can grab hold to. Building block number 2. These are building blocks that I have found that if you just build these, but if you remove one of them, it starts getting shaky like Jinga. I hope you never play Jinga the same. I hope every time you play Jinga, you're thinking about these building blocks. Okay, so the second one is improving your emotional intelligence. All the therapists on here are going to love that. Improving your emotional intelligence. People used to always ask me, Robin, what is the number one key to a healthy relationship? What is it? Just tell me, what is the number one key? And I would always tell them, next to Jesus, hallelujah, next to Jesus, knowing your stuff. Self-awareness. Self-awareness. One of the most frustrating things is to be in a relationship with somebody who don't know their stuff, who constantly projects all the issues onto somebody else. So emotional intelligence is a 2-lane highway. It is being able to identify and regulate your own emotions. You can articulate how you feel, that you're not saying, I'm just feeling some kind of way. You're able to articulate how you feel. That's emotional intelligence. Articulate how you feel and be able to regulate your own feelings. You can see that somebody's emotional intelligence is impaired when they say things like, they made me curse them out. She made me go off. that made me do that. No, no, no. You are responsible for regulating your own emotions. If my daughters come home back when, life was regular, back when people could just go to school, when they could leave out of here and go somewhere else, back, way back in the day. So if my daughters, when they would come home from school, if they were to tell me something like they got in trouble, I got in trouble because she made me, I just stop them right there. No, 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 no. You're responsible for you. So emotional intelligence is the ability to articulate how you feel and to be able to regulate how you feel. Now, that's just one lane of emotional intelligence. The other lane is being sensitive to how someone else feels, to be sensitive to how someone else feels. So the building block number 2 is to be able to improve your own emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, understanding why you show up the way you do and how that impacts everybody around you. Let me say this really quick because I know my time is wrapping. Let me say this very quickly. I often have to remind people that, and I've even have had to come to this for myself. I often will say, I'm very self-aware. I know my stuff. I'm self-aware. Yeah, I would be better for me to say, I'm willing to know more about me. Let me tell you why. Because what's okay that I can say to my sister, I probably couldn't say to you. So I have to understand that I might be saying things to other people and it may not be landing the same. Remember, impact versus intent. I might have one intent, but it's landing totally different. And so you want to make sure that you realize that. And so I'll often hear somebody tell me, my mama don't have no problem when I do that. I don't understand why my man does, because your mama don't have to live with you. And so you got to understand impact versus intent. So that's still on building block number 2. Let's go on to building block number 3. Clearly communicated expectations. Clearly communicated expectations. So I want you to see it like this. Your expectations are here and your experience is here. And when your expectations are too far from what you are experiencing, a gap occurs. And when that gap occurs, the middle is filled with anger, resentment, frustration, disappointment, because I expected this, but I'm experiencing this. And so we have to clearly communicate our expectations. There are different types of expectations. There are expectations that we have shared. There are expectations that may be unreasonable. There are expectations that have just not been met. And so you want to make sure you are clearly communicating what you expect, not just at the top of the relationship, but throughout. What was okay for me when I was 20 ain't cute for me now at over 40. I could give you some examples, but sometimes my husband and I have to go hit reset because what I thought was okay back at 30, it ain't okay now well over 40. And so we have to consist. But listen, if I haven't told him that and he's still doing the WAP, am I aging myself? He's still on the dance floor doing the WAP. And I've started doing the running man. And I'm mad at him because I'm like, we're doing the running man. And he's like, no, we've been doing the WAP. I have to tell him, switch. It's time to switch. I want you to yell to your spouse, switch. We have to let them know it's time to switch. But if I haven't communicated that, and I'm resentful, listen, I cannot hold somebody accountable to what I haven't told them. We can just stop right there. I can go ahead and wrap this on up right there. Let's just wrap it on up. Listen, you cannot hold somebody accountable to what you ain't told them. So clearly communicated expectations, building block number 4, accepting and valuing accountability. I'm going to hit this one real quick and I'm going to leave. Listen, accepting and valuing accountability. If you don't want to be accountable, you don't want to be married. So if you're dating somebody and they don't want any accountability, if you are someone who you don't want it, who gonna check me, boo, you don't want any, then you don't want. Marriage and accountability go hand in hand. So again, we're talking about the building blocks. I share with you the destructive habits. Now I'm giving you these building blocks. Number 4 is accepting and valuing accountability. Number 5 is embracing the power of humility. Embracing the power. There is power in humility. Humility is, I want to understand even more than I want to be understood. I want to understand even more than I want to be understood. I'm willing to put myself to the side so that I can understand you more. I'll say it again. I'm willing to put myself to the side just so that I can understand you more. I don't have to put myself to the side forever, but I just want to understand you more. I'm willing to understand even more or as equal as I want to be understood. Number 6. This is the 6th building block to healthy relationships. Avoiding unintentional neglect. Avoiding unintentional neglect. Before we even realize it, we are putting our spouses on the back burner. We're putting those relationships that matter most to us on the back burner. I remember many years ago, I was on a radio show here in Atlanta, and I remember, y'all, feeling so convicted because I was on the show and I was talking about, it's so important that you prioritize your spouse and you prioritize your children. But then I would go home and just be so busy and I would tell no, I can't play Uno right now. No, I can't do that right now. No, I think I'm feeling convicted. I might be doing that again now. I'm constantly saying, no, I'm putting the people that mean the most to me on the back burner. And so you want to make sure that you are avoiding unintentional neglect. In other words, you have to prioritize what matters to you. Whatever you nurture will grow. Whatever you neglect will die. That's a principle. Listen, a principle is a principle, whether you understand it or not. The principle of gravity is a principle, whether you understand it or not. I can get on top of my house and I can say, I don't understand gravity and jump off, but gravity is going to understand me. Because a principle is a principle, whether you understand it or not. So can I give you the principle again? Whatever you nurture will grow. Whatever you neglect will die. So you have to make sure you are prioritizing your spouse. I don't know why I feel the need to stay there. Let me just say this one more thing. In any relationship, there's no such thing as standing still. We're either growing closer together or we're pulling further apart. We're either depositing or we're withdrawing. So listen, if I keep depositing, but then I start withdrawing and I don't deposit anymore. So I deposited $400. Then I deposited $500. That's $900. So I'm feeling like, whew, okay, I'm good. But then I go withdraw 200. Then I go withdraw another 600. See, I'm getting too fancy with my math. Then I go withdraw another 100. Now I'm in the deficit. So in your relationship, you got to ask yourself, every little thing is either depositing or withdrawing. And if you withdraw too much, your relationship will be in overdraft. So you got to make sure you're prioritizing what matters to you. Building block number 7. The capacity to expand your perspective. Remember, I'm giving you the building blocks of a healthy relationship. We started out by saying, before we can even get into this, what are those destructive habits that are going to stop us? But now we're talking about what are the building blocks? And I'm telling you, number 7 is the capacity to expand your perspective. Listen. Life is not based solely on how you see it. Life is not based solely on how you see it. Can I tell y'all really quick? I had a couple that I was working with, and the wife literally said to me in the session, she said, I am right 85% of the time. So if he would just listen to me, we wouldn't have any problem. And so I just burst out laughing, but she was serious. She was like, no, he needs to listen to me all the time. What? No, listen, you have to have the ability to expand your perspective. This is the way you do it. Can you help me to see it the way you see it? Can you help me to see it the way you see it? Listen, you see things through this lens. I see things through this lens. Why am I wrong? Simply because I see it differently from you. If my husband was right here, he would say amen, because this is an area. This is my area. This is my area where I got to keep working. You got to have the capacity to expand your perspective. You cannot assume that listen, I have a course, a communication course, that I take couples to. Well, actually, it's an independent course that couples can go through on their own. But in that course, one of the modules in that course is on this whole part right here, the ability to expand your perspective, because people are showing up. People are showing up with life stuff that happened when they were, oh my God, stuff that happened when they were 5. Stuff that happened when they were 10, stuff that happened when they were 15. We see life through our experiences. And so you are telling them that they got to see it your way, but they don't have the life journey that you have. They don't. And then you're telling them your experiences don't matter. Your view doesn't matter. You need to come over here on my side of the table. If you want to have a healthy relationship, you got to expand your perspective. Let me keep going. Building block number 8, and I'm done. Building block number 8. You have to create, and then nurture a safe space. Very quickly, a safe space is where we can share freely without fear of retribution. We can share freely without fear of punishment. A safe space means that I can talk to you, you can talk to me, and I know that I am covered. So let me tell you, a safe space doesn't just happen. It has to be created. It has to be cultivated. That means you got to go pull up the weeds of resentment, pull up the weeds of animosity, pull up the weeds of unforgiveness. It has to be cultivated, and then it has to be covered. That means protected. Listen, I can say certain things to my man that you cannot say. And as long as we're in public, I'm like, that's right. I'm with him. And when we get home, I'm like, let me explain something to you, because I cover my man. When he covers me, we cover our relationship. You understand what I'm saying? So your safe space has to be created, has to be cultivated, and it has to be covered. Listen, a safe space does not happen, and I'm done, Randy, you can come back on. A safe space does not happen when there's no respect, when there's no personal responsibility, and when there is no insight. It does not happen. Trust, respect, and personal responsibility. I'm done.
Amazing as always. Listen, when I tell you I'm over here furiously, feverishly taking notes, I was like, this was so good, Robin. Like, and it's not like I expected anything less, because I feel like every time you speak, you literally shift our mindsets. And so the ladies are enjoying this as well. You made so many good points, and not just for married women, but also for us single ladies. And we can also take this into our friendships as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been absolutely amazing. Ladies, do you have just maybe just a quick couple of questions that you would like to ask? I've tried to put notes here in the comments, as well as pin some of the main points to the top. Of course, the replays will also be available. Robin, can you share your social media handle so that the ladies can follow you?
Absolutely. Social media, it's Robin May Online. That's Instagram, Robin May Online. But listen, remember I said I have a 2-lane highway. If you want to follow the work I do for couples, that's I believe _in marriage. That's Instagram. I believe _in marriage. If you want to follow the work I do for women, it is When Girls Gather. But you can find it all at Robin May Online.
Okay. And I'm typing this here. So you ladies can feel free to follow her. Please do. Robin has amazing event. She does the When Girls Gather event every year. I'm hoping and praying we get one in 2021.
You have to tell me how you're doing your events if you're doing it in person, because girl, look, we're still trying to figure out how we're gonna get back to church. So
right. We try to figure out if 2021 is gonna be a thing.
Yes, Lord.
Yes. So absolutely. Thank you again, Robin. Ladies, like I said, please follow her. She is really amazing at what she does. She's always posting and sharing insights for couples, us single ladies, again, parents, as well as our friendships. She is all things relationships. And I trust Robin with this area. When I think of relationships, I absolutely trust Robin 100, 1000%. And so, ladies, if you don't have any other questions, again, follow her social media pages to see what she has going on. Robin, I will definitely be in touch with you. I want you to go and enjoy your baby girl's birthday. I appreciate you so much for taking this time, and I love you so much.
Love you. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, ladies. Woo! What a kickoff. I mean, I feel like I just need to get my life together. Like, I feel like I've been doing this relationship thing like upside down, like for real. I know she came last year for Woman 360, and I was like, oh, I need to get my life together, but I think my little skills was getting a little rusty. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And so if you're catching the replay, make sure that you grab a notepad, pen, paper, whatever. Yes, Gail, we gotta get our life together. And so, hey Sandra, thank you for tuning in. And so, yes, definitely instill greatness. So if you're catching the replay, I want you to go ahead, get your pen and paper, because next up we have Miss Tameka Grimes. And Tameka is a licensed professional counselor and school counselor. She's going to come on and talk to us about managing anxiety or anxiety and depression. And so I'm going to bring her in, but we're going to take, maybe the next 3 to 4 minutes. If you need to get up, get a snack, refill your cup. Thank you, ladies, again for tuning in. You need to take a bathroom break. You need to grab some more pen and paper, fix a sandwich, whatever you need to do. Again, I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. We'll just have a little girl chat time. Feel free to post your questions in the comments. If you have any preliminary questions about anxiety or depression, post them in the comments so that we can make sure that we get to them. So Tameka, if you could just nod your head, yes, if I can go ahead and bring you in. Okay, she's so beautiful. Hey.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, no, you're fine. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I am doing good. I am so grateful. So grateful to have you on here. I know you're going to, like I said, I know that you're going to rock out in this lane because you have years of experience. And so, first of all, what did you think about the relationship series? You're married. I'm on the other end. I'm single and you're married with kids. What did you think? What did you take away from that session?
Girl, so first of all, Robin is my Michelle Obama too, like you was just saying.
Right.
So, and for anybody who doesn't know, Brandy and I, we met at a Robin May event.
Yeah.
And so we always see each other at her events, and
Yes.
everything was amazing. I was taking notes over here too.
Yeah.
Even though I've heard her speak before, I still can learn from her every time she speaks. So that was amazing. And I love the Jinga idea. So I'm definitely heading over to IBelieveInMarriage.com, and I will be using that that workout or whatever you call it, like the what do you call it? Exercise, yeah. That was awesome.
Okay, very cool. Was there anything in particular that you felt like, man, I kind of been slipping in this area. I need to tighten up in this.
So I am the one in my relationship that's the sarcastic one. So that's something that I have to work on daily.
Yeah.
And we've been married almost 12 years, and I still have to kind of watch the way I say things and the approach that I take. So that was one area that stood out to me. I was like, okay, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. I like the thing that she said about when we were talking about some of the things that hinder relationships, when she talked about the stonewalling and the gaslighting, because I think we've had a lot of conversation about narcissism and narcissistic abuse and that whole emotional abuse arena and what that looks like and how very destructive that, that can be. And from my own personal experience,
mine too.
Yeah, yours too. It was very destructive, just mentally and emotionally. And so we always want to make sure that we're not doing those things when we're seeking out or building relationships. Because they can indeed be something that's unhealthy and toxic to the next person. And so I'm glad that she touched on that as well. So we're going to go ahead and get into your session on managing anxiety and depression. I just want to give the ladies a few minutes to fix a sandwich, use the restroom, and come back. And so, like Tameka said, we met each other at a Robin May event back in like 2013. We sat at the same table, and I can't remember what the icebreaker was, but we ended up talking and finding out that we're both in the mental health field. And what's so funny is January 2019, Robin had an event called Celebrating Sisterhood. And before the event, she asked us to write down one word that would describe us, like how individually, how we feel about ourselves, right? So I wrote down the word triumphant because I had gone through a lot in 2018 to 2019, and 2017 to 2018. By the time 2019 came, I felt like, well, man, like I feel like I've triumphed over a lot. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still in my right mind. this is my word. Like nobody else at this event about to have this word. Like, this is me. This is my word.
Go away.
Honey, I show up to the event. I show up down to the Celebrate Sisterhood. And Miss Grimes comes in and she has the exact same word, y'all. Like Robin said, that just shows you the power of connection, because you never know. Like, I just believe that was a prophetic sign that me and Tameka are connected. You know what I'm saying? It was meant for us to connect at that initial brunch. And so, Tameka, I want you to give us a brief introduction about what you do, your credentials, and we're just going to take it from there.
Okay, so hey everyone, I want to thank you, Brandy, first of all, for allowing me to speak on her platform. I am a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Georgia. My background is addiction therapy and child and adolescent therapy. My credentials, I'm a master addiction counselor, certified addiction counselor level 2, and a certified school counselor. So I have been in the mental health and substance abuse field since 2006. And my most recent position for the past year, I transitioned to high school counseling. And I absolutely love my position. I love being able to pour into the lives of our young people in a different way than what I had been trained before. In my current position, I'm mostly doing brief intervention therapy and providing resources to my students. So that's what I do now, and I really enjoy it.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. So you not only have the education and the credentials, but you also have the experience in working with anxiety and depression. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, just as I did with Robin, I'm going to take myself off the screen and I'm going to let you have at it.
All right, thank you.
All right, ladies, I'll see you in a little bit.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. So I just shared who I am, but I want to share a little bit about my personal life. I am a mom of 3 girls, ages 13, 8, and 5. So my house is kind of crazy right now. So I can tell you that I'm probably experiencing some of the challenges that you are experiencing. I'm also married to my college sweetheart that I met years ago, but we've been married almost 12 years this year. So I want to just jump right in. I'm going to first start by sharing what the definition is of anxiety and depression, because I don't want to assume that everyone here knows what the definition is of both of those topics. So anxiety is our body's response to fear and stress, or our body's response to stress. So it can be a response to the fear of the unknown, which we're definitely dealing with right now. There's a lot of uncertainty about what's to come with the coronavirus. From the people, my students that I'm dealing with, I'm receiving a lot of phone calls from their parents just concerned about what's going to happen next school year. So some things that can cause natural anxiety is like the first day of work or a job interview or a first day of school. So in like having to give a big speech, and now we can add having to grocery shop with a mask on and try to make it home safely. So which is I never thought that we would be dealing with. So the definition of depression is a mood disorder. It is also known as clinical depression or major depressive disorder. So depression can affect you emotionally and physically. It is a persistent feeling of sadness and just lack of interest in things that you normally love to do. So now that we got those definitions out of the way, I want to talk about a few things that we may be engaging in now that could increase those feelings of depression and anxiety. So one thing is watching too much news and engaging in too much social media. I know that I'm guilty of that. I have been kind of ODing at first, like just watching the news every time, trying to figure out, what we need to know to try to combat this pandemic. And so also on social media, as any of you can attest, you can see that people are sharing tons of things, Some of it may not be factual. So we have to create a healthy balance of how much news and information we take in. Some other things could be learning of a loved one's illness. And I know I've had a few friends to tell me, like, you can't visit people in the hospital. You also can't visit some of your loved ones like you used to, especially if your state has a stay-at-home order. So just the feeling of not being able to be there for the people you care about. Loneliness, isolation, lack of the social contact that we're used to, especially for any of us who are living by ourselves. Just those feelings can increase during this time. Also, uncertainty about your future, feeling trapped or helpless during this time. My 13-year-old daughter, that's one thing that she's been telling me is, she's like, I just feel trapped. And I'm like, girl, you don't even drive. But I know that it's just the thought of not being able to get out and do what you normally do is concerning for a lot of people. And then loss of special moments. So I've had, and even myself included, I've had lots of friends who've had to cancel major events, weddings, graduations, birthday events, trips. And that can be disheartening, and it can increase some of those feelings of feeling depressed and making you feel more anxious. So if you have your pen and paper, I just have a few quick points that I want you to jot down. So one thing that I want you guys, this is something that I have been really focusing on during this time. My husband said to me, this is our time where we can't be afraid to pivot. And so this is a new reality for all of us. But when that really stood out to me, don't be afraid to pivot. So that can go with you for anything that you're transitioning to. But if things are going beyond your control right now, you may have to do some pivoting. So what that means is we can't focus on how things should have been, how it used to be. The only thing we can do is we got to pivot. We got to figure out, how can I look at this in a different way? I've seen so many people get creative during this season, and they are pivoting. They're hosting birthday parties on Zoom. They're having drive-by birthday parties. I had to do that for my 13-year-old. I've even seen a Zoom wedding going on right now. And so many schools are having to transform and have virtual graduations and so forth. So what we call that is pivoting. We're not stuck in what we want it to be, but we're really pivoting to what our current circumstances have caused us to be in right now. So the 4 quick points I want you to do is I want you to be mindful, number 1, of how you're feeling physically and emotionally. So I want you to, if you feel like the changes that you've been dealing with right now, if they seem to be persistent, like this isn't just like, oh, I was sad because I'm not going to be able to have a graduation, or I'm not going to be able to go on my girls' trip, or I'm not able to see my mom right now. But this is persistent. You're crying, you're isolating from people, you're not interested in the things that you used to do. I want you to seek professional help. So be mindful of those changes, of everything that you're feeling, physically and emotionally, okay? And towards the end, I'm going to talk about how we can seek professional help during a pandemic. Number 2, I want you to establish and keep a routine. So while we're at home every day, most of us have brought work to home. It is kind of difficult sometimes to keep our normal routine, especially if your work hours have shifted because you're home every day. But I want you guys to continue to groom, try new hairstyles if you have to, if you aren't able to go to a salon. But I want you to keep doing the things that make you feel good and just find new ways of doing those things, okay? And number 3, I want you to be open. So be open to exploring new things, new opportunities right now. And it could be you're engaging in meditation, you're praying more, you're journaling, you're doing playing board games if you live with someone and have family members. But just be open to this new season of life and look at it in an optimistic way. And number 4, I want you to pay attention. So I want you to pay attention to not only the things that bring you joy, but also the things that don't bring you joy. So what I want you to do is to take an inventory of your life, do some evaluating now that we have additional time on our hands, And I'm not telling you to leave your husband or your boyfriend or quit your job. But what I am telling you to do is just to do some evaluating. Does this bring me joy? Is this something that I want to keep in my life once this pandemic is over? So just think about those things. So those are the 4 quick points that I wanted you to jot down. And then I want to share with you resources, supports, and recommendations. So I have a few people in my life have contacted me and said, one, my therapist is not doing telemental health. So I really need to see somebody, but it's going to be hard to find a therapist right now. I've also heard people tell me, they just started feeling like they need to see a therapist. How do I find a therapist if I can't go to them physically? And then I've heard, therapy is really expensive. I can't afford it. How can I add it to my budget? I don't have insurance. So I want to give you a few resources that you guys can use. And if you can't use it for yourself, please share this with somebody else that you care about. And so the first thing I want you to do is to take care of yourself. So if you've ever flown on a plane, you will hear the flight attendant tell you to put your oxygen mask on first. And that has always stuck out to me. Like the first time I've flown, when I heard the flight attendant tell me that stood out to me in a major way, because as a caretaker myself of 3 children, and I know that some of you may be essential workers. You may also be caring for someone else in your life, like a parent or a spouse. I want you to think about this. If you are not healthy, you cannot be there for them and show up for them the way that they need you to. So put your oxygen mask on first. Some ways that you can do this is by eating healthy, exercising. If your gym is closed right now, you can order workout equipment. You can do workouts on YouTube without having the proper equipment. So definitely look at new ways to keep yourself healthy. Another thing, I mentioned journaling earlier, but journaling really helps. I know for me, I love to look back on old journal entries because I love to marvel at the fact that God has brought me from a long way. And there were times that I wrote about things that I really thought that I could not overcome. And to go back and look at those things, I am shocked that, like, wow, I'm so much further than where I was during that season. Another thing I want you to do is to try to back away from your work computer. So I know when I first started working from home during this pandemic, I would leave my laptop up and I would hear an email come in at like 9 o'clock at night. And the temptation was there to go and check that email. And then when I did that, I was wrapped up and I was working way more than 8 hours per day. And so I want you to, number one, pull away from your computer even during your lunchtime. I want you to maybe go eat outside on your patio or something, or just go out and take small breaks just to get some sun that'll help you feel better, okay? And take your normal work breaks like you did before you were having to work from home. And for those of you who are still working, still try to take some breaks if you have to. Like if you're working inside your normal setting, try to take some breaks for your own mental health and clarity. I also want you to seek professional help. I mentioned that earlier. So one of the resources that I recommend to people quite often is psychologytoday.com. Please write that down if you're not familiar with that website, but it is a national website. And what I love about it is you can go on there and you can tailor a therapist to fit your needs. So you can click on the area that you're looking for a therapist. If you want the person to be male or female, you can choose them by ethnic identity, even by religious preference. So please go on there, check out Psychology Today. And also, where we live in Georgia, there are places called community service boards. I worked for one for many years, over 10 years here. And they have licensed professional therapists and licensed clinical social workers and addiction counselors who are all still working, but they're working remotely. And they also accept people that don't have insurance. That's a big barrier for people who are looking to engage in therapy. Because as we all know, therapy can be costly, but any type of medical or mental services can be costly. But these places will do income-based treatment. So even if you don't have employment, each state has funding to help provide therapy for people who don't have the funds to take care of it. And then there are lots and lots of online support groups. So if you go and look at, there's a website, NAMI, they have resources on there. And then you also can go to Mental Health America, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, Al-Anon, Alateen, all of those normal support groups that maybe right now, I know that some people, when you're in a time when you don't know how to cope, you may be engaging in things that may not be healthier for you, like alcohol and drugs or something. So there are support groups for that. There are also support groups for grief. Pretty much any issue that you are dealing with, you can find support and resources for it. So that is all I have to share today. I want to thank you guys for listening in, and I thank you, Brandy, for allowing me to speak today.
You're welcome, Tameka. Thank you for presenting us with this information. Just very good information pertaining to anxiety and depression and what that looks like. Ladies, if you have any questions, I did want to take just a few moments here to acknowledge if you have any questions regarding just any symptoms that you may be having, caring for a loved one, or how to support. Well, let's talk about that. As we're experiencing our own stuff, anxiety and or depression in this time, what do we do with kids who we feel may be experiencing anxiety and depression? And what does that look like? How does that manifest in our children?
So anxiety and depression can manifest in different ways with children. You may see more irritability. You may also see what looks like anger in children, and it can be anxiety or depression. And we have to be careful about that, because sometimes we can scold our children for acting a certain way, but children, they have not developed the skills to verbally tell us what they're dealing with. So sometimes it can be slamming a door and you're like, I know the household that I grew up in, that was not tolerated. And so it takes us sitting down and looking at our child eye to eye in a calm voice and saying, what are you experiencing right now? What is going on? I need for us to be able to discuss this. And also having real conversations. All three of my children, and they're at various ages, have mentioned something about the coronavirus. They've asked questions. And I've been able to sit down and give them honest answers. And I'm also okay with telling them I don't have all the answers right now.
Right.
But we're going to get through this together as a family.
Right. So how if there's anyone who's watching who is struggling with their own anxiety or depression or their own mental health diagnosis, what tips do you have for them when it comes to trying to manage their own mental health and parent at the same time?
Yes, that is very difficult. And it is going to take a lot of work. And hopefully, if you do have a support system, relying on your support system as well. I highly recommend, if it's getting to a point where you cannot manage these kids right now, if you do have support, I know we got stipulations about engaging with people, but if you have to, see if somebody can keep your kids for a little while, just so that you can get yourself together mentally. And that means also relying, if you have a trusted individual in your life, calling up your girlfriend and saying, I don't have it all together. I need some support right now. My kids are driving me crazy. Don't be afraid to be honest with people about what you're dealing with as a parent, because there's a lot of judgment surrounding people being perfect parents. We all see those. Have you seen a YouTube video going around where the mom makes the perfect lunches for her kids every day? I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Like she cuts out things and leave little notes or whatever. And then they have the dad who is sliding a Lunchable and a soda in there. And it's really funny if anybody has seen it. But that's our reality. I'm not that parent that's making these perfect lunches. But you have to rely on people if you do. If you don't have support, then definitely reach out for support. A therapist can help you walk through those things that you're experiencing so that you can show up and be there for your kids in the best way that you know how.
Yeah.
And your kids don't know that you don't have it all together. They're going to love you regardless.
Yeah.
You know, your kids don't know that there's a mom out here making perfect lunches.
Yeah.
They know that my mom she's here, she feeds me, she loves me, and she takes care of me. So
yeah. Let's talk a little bit, and I know I'm pulling from you here. I hope you don't mind.
No, that's okay.
Let's talk a little bit about and I've kind of shared this before, that we're finding ourselves grieving the loss of things that may not be loved ones necessarily. It could be loss of a sense of normalcy or a loss of employment or whatever. In what ways are you seeing this concept of grief play out, even if it's not related, or if it is related to death? What can you speak to how we can cope with grief during this time, whether it's, you know, the deceased, or if it's just, you know, the death of dreams or vision, or, you know, we made these 2020 vision boards and Corona then cut out like the first 2 quarters of the vision board.
So personally, I've experienced several people in my life who have dealt with different types of grief during this time. One of my best friends had to reschedule her wedding to next year. And of course, me working at a high school, all of my seniors are, you know, upset about they may not have a graduation ceremony. And then I had a family member to pass away. So we're all trying to find different ways to process these things. And that's why I said don't be afraid to pivot, because we all had a plan. I know I did a vision board for 2022, and it's not looking anything like I thought it was going to look. But the time, there are grief support groups. We definitely you have to talk to somebody to process, especially if it's a major loss.
Yeah.
Like if you have a wedding that you can't have, the courthouse is still open. So if you really, really want to be married right now, you can definitely still go to the courthouse, have that official ceremony. Like my friend who had to reschedule her wedding, she lives in New York. So she got her license, and they're going to have a private ceremony at home and then have the big event later. But when we're talking about death of a loved one, that's very difficult. And especially depending on how your support system looks, you know, if you have support, or if you're willing to allow people into your life, this is a time that you allow people in. If they offer to do things to help you, allow that. Don't be so resistant. I know a lot of us are very private, and, you know, we want to get through things on our own without help. But this is the time to take that help. If people are offering to bring you meals, and just honor that person in the best way that you can right now. If you're not able to have an official ceremony, or maybe it's a smaller ceremony, from what I've been hearing, some people are having smaller funerals. You can still honor them in different ways, you know, journaling, talking to people that you know loved and cared about them. We just have to pivot. We have to find different ways to get through some of these difficult times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that quote about us finding ways to pivot, because this has completely, you know, I always say, I feel like in a matter of a weekend, our lives were literally picked up, shaken, turned upside down, and dropped again. Like, okay, what do I do with this? Literally, I feel like, I think I went and got a haircut on like Wednesday, and by Saturday, it was like, don't go nowhere else. Don't leave your house, in like a span of a few days. I'm like, what? Like, what in the world is going on? What kind of sci-fi thriller are we in right now? So that was just crazy. We have a comment. Nicola Hawkins says, one thing I've done is slow down, let go of some rigid structure. Example, allow a tad more screen time than usual. Maybe create added structure in other areas. Talk on the level of their understanding that you are also feeling sad. I guess this is in terms of dealing with your kids. But this is really good. This is what I'm learning to try / do about it, etc. Kids are amazing at empathizing, and it also oftentimes helps give them words or ways to express how they're doing, ultimately creating a safe space for both of you all to get through the difficult times. What do you have do you have anything to add to that, Tameka?
Yeah, I do. That's really awesome. And that's another word that I've even been telling my parents of my students this. Give them grace. This is not the time to be pounding on your kids to stick to rigid schedules that you normally were used to.
Yeah.
You know, if you're allow them to stay up a little bit later, because they're struggling too. And we don't always recognize that children are struggling with the changes that we're dealing with too.
Yeah.
And like she said, allowing a little bit more screen time, allowing them to play outside a little more. But I'm not being extremely rigid about like the schoolwork and stuff. We're hopping on Zoom calls when we have to, which my kids had their last day this Friday. But you know, I'm not demanding anything from them because this is a difficult time for children as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Give them some grace.
Yes, that's what I literally have been saying it to parents. Please give your child some grace. And I know they're in high school and there are other expectations for older children, but they're still children. Like, yes, he's 18, but he still needs some grace and some guidance, you know?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Washington said journaling to loved ones that have passed. That's a good one. So do you have
that is
anything
awesome.
that one?
Actually, my mother, her sister, who she was extremely close to, passed 2 years ago. And that was one thing that her therapist recommended was for her to journal, like write her letters and things that she wanted to say to her, even write to keep her included in special moments that she's no longer here for.
Yeah.
To write to her about what, you know, just write to her about how she feels. I think that's really helpful and it's healthy so that you don't feel like that person is completely forgotten.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with you. You know, I recommend that often for my clients as well is journaling or using the empty chair technique where you pretend that you're talking to that person and expressing whatever it is that you felt like you should have said, or, you know, you just time ran out for whatever reason, you didn't get a chance to communicate that. It has been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
But Tameka, tell us about the millennial motherhood. Tell us about everything that you got going on outside of counseling, because you have a few things happening right now.
I do. You know what? First of all, I am, even though we're in a pandemic, I am really using this time to rest because we have 3 children with different ages. We're always on the go. And people in my life, my friends, they say, girl, y'all always got something going on. So I'm not using this time. I know that we've seen quotes about people saying, if you come out of this pandemic without building a business and writing a book and all this stuff, then, you know, like they're kind of judging you. I'm not trying to do anything extra. So I do have a blog, millennialmotherhoodblog.com. I have not blogged in a while, but I do love to blog. I also share a lot on Instagram at millennial_motherhood about my children, about what I have going on. And I share about like school counseling. This has been a year of first for me, but I've learned so much that I feel like I can help other parents navigate some things with their children in the school system, in the world of the school system, like dealing with 504 plans and so forth. There's a lot that we don't know about that can help our children in the school system, and also just, you know, so I just talk about my family and stuff. I do, I love skincare. So I do, I am a consultant with Rodan and Phil. So I do skincare on the side too. But I'm just busy. Like I love to, you know, but now I am really taking this time to rest and enjoy my family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good thing. You got to get your self-care in too.
Yes, most definitely. So guys, please do that. Please do something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. These were some awesome points on ways that we can manage our own anxiety and depression, Tameka. I know that these will be tremendously helpful, and not just us. You know, you helped us to identify what that looks like, as well as things, very practical things that we can do to be able to manage. And so I thank you, thank you, thank you so much for graciously taking your time to share your wisdom with us. Ladies, if you have any questions, please feel free to post in the comments. Let's give it about 1 or 2 minutes or so. Post your questions. You have a licensed professional counselor at your disposal. And so you can ask her whatever questions you have, because I guarantee, a lot of therapists right now, because we are so busy, we probably won't have the time for you to call up and ask them. We'll be like, you can book a consultation.
I know, right?
But
our family and friends like to call us and ask lots of questions.
Yes, they
sometimes
do.
They'll leave their therapy sessions and say, my therapist said this. What do you think about this?
Right. And you know what? I shut that down because I'd be like, look, you are paying this person for whatever reason.
Yes.
you chose this person to go to because you saw something or knew something about them that resonated with you. So you need to go back to them.
I'm not here to critique your therapist.
Yeah. No, not at all. We can't do it. We cannot do it at all. So one quick thing, I guess, in the next, like I said, 2 minutes, as we're seeing if anybody has any questions. Have you ever struggled with anxiety or depression?
So I struggled with depression before I knew it was depression, especially in college. And also I had a very mild form of postpartum depression after my first child. And so in college, I had no clue, but I was experiencing all of the symptoms: isolation, like not interested in any of the things I love, pushing friends away, and, trouble sleeping. What are some things? Crying just for no reason.
Yeah.
Just all of those things that you're not, like, at that young age, I didn't know,
Yeah.
So when I had my first child, I was really young. So I was like, it was right before my 23rd birthday. Some people might not feel like that is young, but that was young for me. And so there was a lot of like because I was a young 20s, the women in my family were doing a lot of trying to take over. Yeah. And so I didn't have a voice at that point. So I was really struggling then, but of course, did not identify and seek help. So I was able to get through some of my issues without seeking treatment. And I do have a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist off and on for a few years. So well, maybe for about a year. And it's not so much to treat any kind of like symptoms of depression or anxiety, but to help me to work through issues. And especially like for people who are maybe in a relationship, you don't want to use your significant other as a sounding board. So definitely, because that's a lot of pressure on them, and they don't need to be, they don't need to be your significant other plus your therapist. And they don't know how to respond. Yeah. So, the reason why, like you were saying, even as, because I heard you saying earlier about you being a therapist, even as a therapist, like, we don't know it all, and we can't always help ourselves. Yeah. So I can definitely look at somebody else's issue and give them a whole recommendation, and we're gonna work this out. But for myself, like, I can't do that. So that's why I chose to talk to someone. And it's really like, and therapy is ongoing. So you have different levels of your life that, like, I'm in a new season, so I need to talk to my therapist about this and kind of work through those things.
Yes. I agree with you, Tameka. And, we've talked about my experience with having anxiety before, and coming out of a situation that was traumatic for me. I didn't even recognize that it was traumatic until I started to have those symptoms, the anxiety, the crying from out of nowhere, and the difficulty sleeping. And I just could not pinpoint what was happening. And I reached out to a professional and said, hey, I'm having these symptoms. Like, what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could be fine 1 minute and I can be driving down the street and boom, just out of nowhere, it was this overwhelming sense that I needed. It literally felt like I was hit by a bus just out of nowhere, and I would need to cry. And for me, like you said, as therapists, sometimes we think we can just figure it out. I should be able to figure this out. I should be able to treat myself, but that is not true. But I'm glad that I reached out to another professional, and she was able to say, well, hey, this is what you're dealing with. These are some ways that you can cope, and this is the way that you can, kind of get through your everyday. And so it is important for us to be able to recognize when we have those symptoms. I mean, we don't judge surgeons who can't perform open heart surgery on themselves, you know?
Girl, that's so funny. When I first got into the field of addiction, that was the analogy that the person I was training under used, because, and you worked in addiction. That's how we connected. We both were working with drug court. Yeah. But when we met that day at Robin's event, we were talking about both working with drug court. But that's one thing, addicts will ask you, have you ever been an addict? And that was the one thing that helped me, because getting into that field was intimidating, that people were wondering about whether or not I had a history with substance use. And I felt like, well, if I don't have this, then how can I help them? But you are so right. Like, we don't ask our doctors, have they been through the same ailments that we've been through? You know, we just trust their expertise.
Right. You got diabetes? Well, how you gonna tell me how to monitor my A1C? Right. We have a few.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No,
I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Yes, we have to trust it. We have a few questions popping off over here.
Okay.
One says, Tracy says, I enjoy therapy because, as Tameka said, as a professional, you need a neutral party to assist us. Absolutely.
Definitely. Yes, I agree.
Nicola said, can you talk to us about how movement impacts anxiety and depression?
So, do you mean like lack of movement?
Yes. Nicola, can you clarify?
Can you clarify?
Yes. While she's clarifying that, we're going to go to Shanika said, Carrie, yeah, I'm going to grab that one in just a second. Shanika says, do you get diagnosed for anxiety, or you just feel you have it? Because I be panicking and can't breathe and everything else.
So it does sound like you may be experiencing anxiety. And I definitely, you can even start with your primary care physician, and they may be able to provide some resources for you, but most definitely talk to someone to get a formal diagnosis. And there are some healthy forms of anxiety. You know, it's okay to feel anxious, like if you're going to meet new people or doing something new, or, you know, like I said, like maybe having a grocery shop with your mask on and all those kind of things. It's okay to feel anxious, but if you're having what sounds like panic attacks, I would definitely tell you to talk to someone, especially if it's affecting your breathing.
Yes.
I
agree. Thank you for that question, Shanika. Very good question. Carrie says, how do you overcome being overwhelmed as a single parent while doing self-care, aka exercise, yet house chores don't get done, or things we need to get done? There is no time from parental duties and overall responsibilities.
That is a really good question. So, number one, remember, give yourself grace. Number one. And the house is not going to always be clean. I'm not a single parent, but I was raised by a single parent. And I want to say, get rid of that super mom effect. You don't have to be everything, but you can include your children if they're old enough in some of the things that you're trying to do. You know, example, helping them do some of the chores that you're dealing with. If they're older, helping them learn how to cook so that they can take some of that load off of you. And also, I highly recommend finding you some type of like mom group or support group. I have several friends who are single parents, and they are thriving, and they rely on other people. Like some of them don't live near their family. They have supportive family members, but when you have children, you're going to need somebody to help you some days, whether it's keeping them, picking them up from something. You know, maybe your kid gets sick out of nowhere. You need somebody to keep them for you while you stay at work. But find you, and that was the thing that I did when I first moved to Georgia from South Carolina. My husband worked in retail, and he was working all the time. And it was just me and our oldest daughter at the time. She might have been like 1 or 2. But I started connecting with parents at my kids, at her school, at her little daycare. So I built up a mommy support group in that way. And we started keeping each other's kids and helping each other out. And there was a mixture of moms. Some were single, some were married or in a relationship, but we all connected to help each other.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Carrie, I hope that answered your question. If not, let us know. Vita says, could you explain, you ladies are asking such good questions. And we have about, I would say 10 or so minutes. Tameka, I know you didn't bargain for all this time, but do you mind if we steal you for about 10 more minutes, maybe?
No, girl, I'm good. Look, my kids are gone, so I have time right now.
Right. Vita says, could you explain personality disorder or emotional behavior disorder and how it affects a person? That's a loaded question.
So there are different types of personality disorder. One of the well-known ones is borderline personality disorder. So what I can tell you, because there are different types of personality disorders, what I can tell you is that personality disorders are, they're somewhat difficult to treat. And because you cannot treat it with a prescription, like, from a psychiatrist, and a lot of the behaviors can be like pushing people away or having a lot of interpersonal relationship issues. The borderline one is well known and very common, and sometimes it can be misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder, which is bipolar disorder is a mood disorder. That one is kind of difficult to answer because there are different types of personality disorders. But the way it affects a person is it definitely, the biggest thing that I've seen is it affects a person's ability to keep and form relationships. And some of the topics that Robin was talking about, like a lot of gaslighting or like narcissistic personality, some of those manipulative behaviors can go on, and it can cause a person to kind of be on their own because they push people, like some of even their behaviors may push people away because they may not always be someone that you can trust. And especially if you don't know what they're dealing with, you don't know how you can be there to help them and support them. And personality disorders also, if a person is also abusing substances, then it can be difficult to determine if it's the substance abuse that you're experiencing, because a lot of those same symptoms come through with a person who is an alcohol or drug abuser because of the manipulative behaviors that are connected to the disorder. Emotional behavior disorder, how it can affect a person. So are you talking in terms of like children who deal with EBD? I'm not sure. But
we can have her Vita, if you could clarify if you're speaking in terms of children or adults, and then we can circle back to finish that question.
Do you want to give any input on personality disorders? There are,
Yeah.
I mean, I know as therapists, we talk a lot, when a person comes in with the personality disorder, you really got to meet with your team and come up with a plan to help them. I know that for people like with borderline, DBT therapy is excellent for them. And I've recommended, I've been trained in DBT, but I'm not a DBT therapist.
Yeah.
So
one thing, I was just going to say, one thing to mention about personality disorders is that it's, they can be hard to diagnose. But again, if there is some concern about someone having a personality disorder, like Tameka said, it will take a professional to diagnose that. It's usually not something that is visible to the naked eye. You may be experiencing or manifesting these symptoms and you won't know, because it's not terminology that's often talked about just in layman's terms enough. I don't think we talk about it enough. We talk about it clinically, like you said, amongst each other, but honestly, it does take a trained eye to be able to diagnose. And, you can't treat personality disorders with medication. It's usually some type of behavior modification to a degree, because there are some that there's some theories out about whether or not it can actually be treated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I agree with you. You will hear varying opinions about whether or not you can treat personality disorders. I will say, in my experience in mental health, I have worked with people who were dually diagnosed, and so a lot of what I've done is kind of treat maybe some of the other symptoms, and had a DBT therapist to kind of help with some of the personality issues.
Right. Vita circled back and said, I'm sorry. Nicola said she was speaking on exercise and movement. So how can exercise help with managing anxiety or depression?
You get those endorphins going. I know for me, I feel better. I'm one of those people, I have been off and on with working out, but I have been back on it since February, and it definitely helps you with your emotional and your physical health, of course. But when you get, I know it just helps you feel better in general. Like when you get that workout in, it also helps you to sleep better at night. And for some people who may be dealing with depression and anxiety, your sleep can be affected by that.
Yeah.
It could be loss of sleep, or it could be people sleeping too much because of their depressive mood symptoms.
Right.
But I highly recommend, and I do tell my my clients and my students, get out, get some movement going, because it'll help you feel better, especially getting outside of the home too.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. I need to start back working out. I've been off and on, but been more off than on. So we ain't gonna talk about that. Mendez Jocelyn says, therapy has always been a positive thing in my life. You feel more comfortable because you know this person is there to listen. You don't feel like a burden while trying to find help and guidance. So absolutely. Carrie, I see your comment about feeling overwhelmed. But I really feel like that's going to be answered better. Well, Tameka answered a big portion of it, but also if you can tune back in this afternoon for at 1:30 for the session with Christina Garrett on from Mamathon Diary, she's going to go more in depth about creating boundaries and self-care. So she's going, if you can, I wish I
can't wait to hear that one.
Yes, Christina is amazing in that arena. And so Carrie, if you can save that question, I want to be sure that we circle back to that. If you can maybe copy and paste it into a note or something, I don't know, but just save that question, because she's going to come back and also be able to kind of help with that on that end. I know that you're speaking and you typed on here from the standpoint of a mom with a disabled child. And so, like I said, Tameka answered, but I also couple that with.
I can attest to, I have a child with a chronic illness, and I know that it can be difficult to kind of manage, and especially if you're doing it alone. So one thing I would recommend, there are support groups. So I'm in support groups for my child's illness on Facebook. And we did have, like, locally, we had a meetup that we would do every month, but now they're doing things virtually. So that's one thing that can help as well, is trying to find support groups and people who understand. And there's respite care too for people who are dealing with specific conditions. I know that when I worked in the adolescent field with mental health, some of our parents, if they would contact us about helping to find respite care where their child could go somewhere for at least a week, and so that they can get a break from some of those full-time caretaking duties. So I hope that could kind of answer your question too.
Yes, ma'am. Very good. Thank you, Tameka, for addressing that. And listen, you have answered all things mental health today. The ladies turned up the heat with all these all these
I love these questions.
But they were so good. They were so good. And the questions that you ladies asked, that says that you are doing your research, like, about emotional disorders, personality disorders. Like, that tells me that you have your ears tuned to the streets, so to speak, about all things mental health. And so thank you, ladies, for your questions. Latasha said, I'm an aspiring clinical mental health counselor with only practicum and intern left to complete. Congratulations.
Awesome.
That's what's up. And I want to thank you both for further clarifying different disabilities and taking the time to host this conference virtually. I'm enjoying it. Excellent.
Thank you. Congrats, Latasha.
Congrats, Latasha. We need more good practitioners, especially African American females.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we'll be on the lookout for you. Tameka, is there anything that you would like to add in closing?
I just want to thank you guys for these questions and taking the opportunity to tune in and hear us. I've enjoyed listening to you, Brandy, when you opened up. That was really good in your opening speech, and then Robin May. So I just thank you, and I can't wait to hear the rest of the speakers today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tameka, for coming on and sharing your wisdom and your expertise. And the thing I like about you is that you're balanced, because you speak to parenting and to treating mental health disorders, and speaking from the standpoint of a wife, but you're also living this. You're living this out as well. And so you couple the professional and the personal experience so very well and make this tangible and practical for us. And so I thank you so much for coming on board. Ladies, please be sure to follow her. I posted her, I'm going to post it here again, but her Instagram handle, typing it in. Millennial Motherhood. Huh?
Millennial_motherhood.
Okay.
It's a long name.
Millennial_motherhood. There it is. All right, ladies. So if you can go and follow her on Instagram. And Tameka, it has been a joy, and I will definitely be in touch with you a little later. But yeah, that's it for our mental and emotional wellness time. And so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. So we have enjoyed, this morning has been amazing already, and it's just lunchtime. So we're going to take just a few minutes. I'm going to actually try to play some music here for you. We're going to take just a few minutes before we're going to have Miss Erica Utley come on board. She's going to be talking about, she's going to be talking to us about, she's going to be talking to us, about trauma resolution. And so if you want to, like I said, grab a sandwich, refill your drink, I don't know, do whatever you need to do, take a break, go outside for a minute, and we will definitely be right back. So Erica's going to be joining us here momentarily. So we'll give it about 3 minutes. All right, ladies, we are going to be continuing on with our conference here, and I see Miss Erica is in my backstage queue. and she is all ready. And so, ladies, we're going to be talking next about managing trauma, right? Or coping with trauma. And so, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section so that we can make sure that we get to those, okay? Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Brandy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. I'm just going to, I gave them a little bit of a break. So we'll start in about 2 minutes.
Okay. Cool.
I know how it could be with like sitting in front of the computer all day. So yeah.
Yeah, breaks are needed. Go grab something to drink, go get some fresh air, come back, and let's, try it again.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I am well. I was looking forward to this all week. Of course, us therapists pretty much have not been in the office, so everything is from home.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to interactions.
Yes, absolutely. I had to go to my office briefly yesterday, and of course, we're all wearing face masks, but I saw two of my coworkers in the hallway, and I just ran up to them like, I just need some human interaction. Like, that's not behind a screen. I just need to talk to a physical person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I definitely feel you on that. We'll go ahead and get started because I see ladies are coming back in. And so, first of all, I'm so excited about this topic because I get questions about this all the time and it's so deep. And Erica, I follow her on Instagram and I just love all of her posts. She is the smileologist, y'all. And so I am going to allow Miss Erica Utley, licensed professional counselor, to introduce herself. Tell us about what you got going on, dealing with our ish. All of your stuff. So tell us about your movement. And then after you do that, I'm going to disappear from the screen and then it's going to be all you.
Okay. Well, hello, ladies. My name is Erica Utley. As Brandy has stated, I'm a licensed professional counselor here in the state of Georgia. So I'm a therapist. I am an author. And after all of that, I am human, right? And so I'm really big on therapy and understanding the importance of it in our lives. So many of us are going through so many things and we have no idea how to cope, or we feel like we don't need therapy. So my mission in the field is just to break the stigma because therapy is real. It works if you work it. And right now, my biggest thing is just really teaching people how to smile from within. Hence the name, the Smileologist. The name of my private practice is Smileology Counseling Services. In 2018, I wrote a book entitled Deal with Your SHIT, but I'm not just using profanity to be using it. It's an acronym for shame, hurt, insecurities, and trials. We all have them. So I'm just here just to break down some barriers. Like I said, I'm a real person. If you want some real enlightenment, let's get it.
Let's get it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so Erica, she does this justice. This is her lane. And so Erica, I'm gonna get out the way and I'm gonna let you go forth and be great and do what you do. So I'll see you ladies momentarily.
So ladies, welcome. We had some amazing speakers this morning. We have learned a plethora of information. And I'm just excited and humbled to be on this platform to have this candid conversation about trauma, right? So the first thing is, what is trauma? Some of us have no idea what that even means. So I could give you like the bookie, techie definition of it, but I'm gonna make it real simple. Trauma is simply a distressing or disturbing experience that we may have gone through in our lives. Okay. And so I just want you all to kind of take a moment. For some of you all, that trauma came right up in your mind as soon as I said it. And for some of us, we still don't have a clue. So we're going to focus on figuring out how to overcome the trauma. First of all, there are 3 things that we must do. off top in order to deal with trauma. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to uncover. We're going to uncover what the truth is, uncover the trauma. Then we're going to discover. We're going to discover, like, okay, what really happened here? How did this make me feel? Where did I disconnect, per se? And then we're going to begin to recover. So there's a process to this. Everybody does not go through trauma the same kind of way. Trauma looks different for everyone. One of the first things we think about when we say trauma, a lot of people will say, oh, that means like maybe like some type of physical or sexual abuse. Yeah, but it also means so many other things. We could have gone through a natural disaster. We could have had a severe health issue that caused trauma. We could have dealt with the death of a loved one. So all kind of things constitute for trauma. All kind of things. So it's not just in a box. So today, though, ladies, I just want to kind of teach us how to begin this process. Okay? If y'all are ready, I'm ready. I'm taking it if y'all are ready. Okay? So one of the very first things that we have to do when we begin to, maybe look into our lives, we've got to really, really, really look back at the beginning, right? If we're experiencing some depression or some anxiety, or some of us don't have a name for it, it's just I don't feel right. We need to start at the beginning. And so in my private practice, I have some clients that are like, Erica, I don't want to go back to the beginning. Already been there, done that, got an award, I'm good. But I always tell them, in order for us to understand where you are today, we got to go back. Now, will we reside there? No. We're just visiting to see if there's some things that we need to unfold, uncover, right? Uncover. So that's the first thing we're going to do today. We have to learn, ladies, before we can uncover anything, we got to make the choice to be honest. We got to make that choice. In this day and age, it's very easy for us to put on masks, right? It's so easy to do that. We wake up in the morning, we get ready, put on our nice clothes, do our hair, jump in our nice cars, and we go to these jobs, or go hang out, and we really are suffering internally. But we've learned how to dress it up. And so I just wonder, I've always wondered this, especially since I've been in the field. How does that really allow for healing when we're not operating in our truth? All right. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, we're going to cut the drama. We're going to cut it. We're going to cut the act. And we're going to be real. We're going to be honest about what it is that happened in our life. All right. So that's the first step of this whole process of overcoming trauma. We got to uncover it. We got to uncover it. It's a thing of just being vulnerable towards yourself and saying, you know what, I'm tired of feeling the way that I feel. It's time for me to just really put the mask aside and be honest. Okay. And so that is, like I said, the first step of uncovering. And so when we begin to uncover and we begin to be honest, it's very important that we begin to look at the seeds that have been planted in our lives, even from the very beginning. Okay. And so this next part we'll call discovery. So we've uncovered, right? And that means that we're being honest, and we're just standing in the nude with our feelings and our emotions. We're just here. And so now it's about discovery. We're going to discover what kind of seeds have been planted. So I tend to look at life like a garden. I feel like we all have a garden. I believe that before we were even born, the seeds were being planted into our lives. When we were first conceived, the moment we were conceived, seeds were being planted. So I'm going to give you two scenarios, right? I'm going to give you baby A and baby B. So let's imagine baby A, okay? Baby A was born to parents who were so excited about the pregnancy when they found out. They were singing lullabies to the baby at nighttime, rubbing on the baby while it's in the mom's womb, telling everybody about the baby. That's baby A. Now let's talk about baby B. Baby B was conceived after a mother was sexually molested or raped. And when the mother found out that she was pregnant, she was so upset. She did not want this baby. She did not want to have to tell people what happened. It just was not a good situation for her. So if we look at both baby A and baby B, I pose the question to you all. What seeds do you think were planted from the very beginning, before these babies were even birthed? You're right. Baby A, yes, there was this seed of love and acceptance, right? And then we have baby B. Baby B had some seeds that were similar to rejection. Ooh, I don't even want you. Rejection, some anger seeds. And so I just wanted to kind of break that down so you guys can see just how real seeds are, and that they start before we're even, like I said, birth. Okay, and so that is a part of us uncovering. And when we began to look in our gardens, we began to really look to see what's been planted, and this takes time. So in that garden, we may find that it was some trauma that was planted. So it's going to be on us to kind of go through our gardens, sift through, see what's what. Maybe there was some molestation. Maybe there was some abandonment. Maybe there was some financial burdens. Maybe we grew up in foster care and no one ever, our biological parents never came back around and said, hey, this is where you come from. It's all kind of things. So during this process of discovering, we're just looking through our garden, asking questions to the people around us in case, we might have been too young to remember certain things, certain situations, maybe getting some clarity on some things. Okay. So we're gonna make sure that we're looking to see what's in there. And so here's the thing that I want you guys to understand. And this is just sidebar while we're talking about garden. If we do not go through our gardens and figure out what those seeds are, and if we don't heal from the ones that don't need to be there anymore, there's a chance that we can plant those same seeds into our own children's garden, right? So let me give you an example. When I began to do this work a few years ago, and of course, because I'm human, I'm still doing this work all the time, right? But when I first embarked on this whole idea, I remember going through my garden. I decided to take off my mask, decided to, just look through and began to discover some things. And so what I discovered was, wow, I really feel a great sense of rejection. I really feel like I'm not wanted. I really feel like I'm being overlooked. And so I ended up I'll never forget this. I ended up going to a training for continuing education. And in that training, the trainer said, the very things that you feel, your parents probably felt them too. I was like, what is this dude talking about? Whatever. So I sat with that thing. Even though I said whatever, I sat with it. I went home and I sat with it. I went home and I cried with that thing, right? And eventually I picked up the phone and I called my mom and I said, Mom, I've been just doing some self-work and I'm really feeling like rejected. I don't know like where this came from. I know that when I was growing up, I wanted you and my dad to be more present emotionally. I know that part. Got that part figured out. But like this just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so she goes on to say to me, you know what? I felt the same way growing up. And it was like a ton of bricks that hit me. Right. And so here I am, all of these years, carrying this seed of rejection with me, and it wasn't even mine to start with. Okay, my mother had not done her work, and through this time frame, I had not done my work. But now that at that point, I realized, okay, you know what? It's time. It's time to have some conversation. And I remember she said, yeah, my parents didn't know how to say I love you, or that you're great, or that you're wonderful. They had no idea how to do that. And you know, I'm sorry, because I didn't know how to give that to you. Oh, wow. And this thing had been in my life for so many years. This was traumatic to me. Okay. So this wasn't like I said, trauma looks different for everyone. This was traumatic to me because here I am all of these years feeling like nobody wanted me. I was feeling rejected. And my parents didn't even realize that they were planting that in my garden. And bigger than that, they didn't even realize that it was in their garden. Does this make sense? I hope this is making sense what I'm saying to you. So to sum all of that up, this is a part of us discovering. This is the discovery process. Some of us are carrying resentment towards our parents because they didn't do A, B, C, and D. Or, you know what, Mom, if you would have done this or done that, then I probably wouldn't have had to experience this traumatic situation. But we've got to understand that our parents are humans too, which in turn means that they have their own gardens as well, right? And so people can only give you what they have. People can only give you what they have. And then as you become older, it is your responsibility to tend to your garden, to discover. It's your responsibility to do that. Does it lessen your experience? Does it justify the fact that your mom or your dad, was absent and blah, 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 blah? Not at all. But my hope is that it will give you a better perspective on the fact that people can only give you what they have. They can only give you what's in their toolbox. My mother could not tell me how beautiful I was. She couldn't tell me how smart I was and how great I was going to be one day. And that no matter what happened and whatever people said at school, that I'm still great. I needed her to do that. I needed my father to do that. But guess what? They didn't have it to give. And their very same garden was the same seed. And they had not, once again, done their work. They had not done the discovery of whatever these traumas have been. Are y'all following me here? Let me give you an example. For some people, this may still be going over your head. So I'm going to give you, I'm just going to give you just an example. And maybe this may bring it home. In my book, there's a chapter called People Can Only Give You What They Have, right? And so I opened up the chapter talking about being in the back of an ambulance and you're bleeding profusely. There's blood everywhere. It's just flowing. And you know that you've been in some type of accident. You're not really sure, but it was bad, whatever it was. And so you start to come to and you look in front of you and you see a person standing there with a greasy, oily mechanic suit on, and they have a wrench in one hand and some other type of, maybe some pliers in another hand, and they're coming towards you. And you immediately ask, how are you gonna help me? And so let me explain that. The person in that situation was not equipped, catch this now, was not equipped to help you in that moment. They didn't have it. And so is it fair? Just asking. Is it fair for us to place these expectations on people? Was it fair for me to place expectation in the little scenario that I gave in the book on a mechanic to be able to help me in my time of medical need? He did not have it to give. My mother did not have it to give. Your mother did not have it to give. Her mother, his father, whatever, did not have it to give. And we got to be okay with that. Like I said, does that minimize your experience? Absolutely not. It doesn't minimize it. But it helps to take a weight off of us in knowing that it wasn't even about us. My mother not, paying me the attention that I needed, that had nothing to do with me. She didn't have it. She didn't have it. And so, once again, like I said, those are the type of things that we do when we begin to discover the different traumas. And then the other part of it is this. When we begin to discover whatever seeds are in our gardens, we got to figure out which ones need to stay, which ones need to go. So my mom had a garden a couple of years ago in her backyard. And she was so excited about this garden, y'all. She was so excited. She had my cousin come and plow and, just prepare the soil and all of that. And she planted all this good stuff. Like she had some greens. I think she might have had some corn, just a lot of good stuff out there. And I kid you all not. In 2 weeks top, our garden was dead, y'all. And so what does this have to do with what we're talking about? When we're talking about our gardens, we've got to make sure that we tend to it. So while we're discovering and seeing what's in there, we should also be tending to it. So the next part of the process is recovery. Okay. So we've uncovered, we've discovered, and now we're recovering. Okay. I hope y'all are following this. Because if you allow this message to penetrate your heart, there could be some real life-changing movement happening for you as it relates to the trauma that you experience. Okay? So back to the garden. And my mom, and she let her garden die. So yeah, when it came to taking care of it and really getting in there and pulling up weeds and watering it the way that she needed to, didn't do it. Garden died. All that good stuff, gone. So after we've discovered what's in our garden, because guess what? It's not just bad stuff in our garden. Let me be clear on that. It's not just bad stuff, There's some good stuff in there too. So we gotta look and we gotta see what needs to go, what needs to stay. So y'all, I love props. I don't have a green thumb, but I was so excited when I bought this from the store. I felt like I did, but I don't. But anyway, it's my prop. And so I just want you guys to kind of visualize what it is that I'm saying. I need you to look in your garden. There are some seeds in there that we continuously water every single day. We're watering it. We're watering it. That seed of rejection I told you guys about, I watered that up into my late 20s. I watered it every single day. And guess what? Not only that, y'all. Here's the kicker. I allowed other people to water, right? So I would get into these relationships, and because the seed was already there, and because they could see, because I was so vulnerable and so weak and so broken, they could see exactly what nasty seeds was in my garden. They watered it too, and I let them water that rejection. Go ahead. And so when we go through this recovery process, when we go through it, we got to figure out what's got to go. And some of that, trauma that we've gone through, we've got to figure out how to let it go. That may be tough. Some of us live in this trauma. And it's like, no, I've been living with this all my life. How dare you say I let it go? I just wonder, for those of you that feel that way, and some of us don't even know that we feel that way, but for the ones that are aware and they're like, nope, I'm not going to forgive this person. I'm not going to do that. How does that serve you? Besides putting you in a place of having extra emotional baggage that you got to carry with you. How does it help you? Just wonder. Just asking. So, like I said, we're recovering. So we're going in our garden. We're seeing what's in there, what needs to go, what needs to stay. So to bring it into reality, recovering would look like going to therapy. That's what it would look like. Some of us on here today, we go to therapy. We do. And some of us feel like, girl, I'm not going to therapy. You got to be out your mind. Me, go to therapy? Like, what can they tell me? Well, it's not about what they can tell you. It's about the atmosphere that can be created. The atmosphere of safety to let you know that, hey, you can let it all hang out, because out in the world, people are critical, people are judgmental, and people are not open to actually loving you through your SHIC, your shame, your hurt, your insecurities, and your trials. So that's why therapy would be good. That's why. Some people may say, well, girl, I'm just going to pray about it. Great. It's good. But we must know that God has strategically put people in the earth to assist you through what you got going on. So in your recovery process, it may look like going to therapy. It may look like having some hard conversations. If we went through a situation where we were abandoned, or we went through abuse, we may have to have some hard conversations. Our families may not even know some of the things that went on in our childhood, and we carry this day after day after day. Now we're married and we have our own children, and we've never talked about it. We've never uncovered it. We've never discovered it, and we definitely have not recovered from it. Okay? So it may look like having hard conversations, not only with others, right, but also within yourself. Having a hard conversation. Another way that recovery may show up is forgiveness. Ooh, I cannot tell you guys, in all the years that I've been doing this, how many times people have said to me, why would I forgive? They hurt me. And I just listen and I provide support. I listen some more. I'm not forgiving them. And so I heard this, I think C.D. Jakes said it a few years ago. And every time someone says that to me, I hit them with this. Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. When we do not forgive, it is almost like drinking poison and expecting the person that hurt us to die from it. So you not forgiving them, it doesn't hurt them. That only hurts you. I hope that somebody receives it. The forgiveness is not about them. The forgiveness is for you to forgive yourself for holding on to this thing for so long, and forgiving yourself for not understanding that you too still are wonderful even though this happened. Forgiving yourself for beating yourself up over the years for not telling. Forgiving yourself for feeling like it was your fault. That's what forgiveness is all about. It's not for the other person. Because here's the thing, if we've gone through a situation where someone has hurt us, very simply stated, hurt people. And here's the other thing, once again, people can only give you what they have, okay? And sometimes we have expectations for people that are just not equipped. That's just like right now, me expecting someone that is in the hospital to be able to go and run a mile with me. How can I have that expectation for them? They're sick. How can you have an expectation for someone that is mentally challenged or have some things in their garden that they're just not ready to address, not willing to address, and just will never address? I hope that this is helping you to understand why forgiveness is important. It's not about the other person. It's about you. I got a few more minutes and I want to wrap this up. One big thing when we're dealing with trauma and overcoming trauma, we want to connect to our Creator. Is Erica here to tell you who to believe in, how to believe in it, when to believe in it? Absolutely not. I can't do that. I can only speak from personal experiences, okay? When we go through something so heavy, so distressing, so disturbing, it is very challenging to do this uncover, discover, recover process by our lonesome. We need to connect to something greater, something bigger than ourselves. That's simple. And the very last thing when we're talking about recovering, this is probably something that a lot of us don't do. I hope you hear it. I hope you grab it. Very last thing is allow yourself to feel. I will say it again. Allow yourself to feel. There's no right or wrong way in how to feel. But, and my clients probably hate it. I say it all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. In order to heal, you've got to feel. There's no healing if there's no feeling. Allow yourself to heal. I heard Ms. Grimes before me say, give your children some grace. So I always tell my clients, give yourself some grace. If you're feeling today, if you feel like you just want to lay in a bed today, go for it. Feel it. Now, am I saying stay there forever? Absolutely not. You have your moment. but we don't make it a monument. So be okay with feeling. So just to wrap everything all up really quick. When we're talking about overcoming trauma, there's just 3 major steps to doing it. We've got to uncover our truth and not be afraid of our truth. We've got to take masks off. We got to stop putting on. All right. And then after we uncover, then we begin to discover. We begin to make connections between, wow, this is why I am the way that I am at 35 years old, because the little girl in me is still unhealed and she still got some hurt. In this process, this is where we make connections between our garden and our parents' garden. It's just a lot of just discovering through here. Then after that, in our process, we're gonna make sure that we recover and make sure that you realize and understand it and grab it. It looks different for everyone. So I thank you all. I pray that this will help someone along the way, because trauma is real, but there is healing for those that want it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Please don't go anywhere just yet, Erica. I'm trying to make sure that I get all of this in the comments. This has been absolutely amazing. If we were in church, you know how they throw the handkerchief? I think I was throwing the handkerchief a few times, or through my shoe or my purse or something at the screen a few times, because this was just absolutely phenomenal. And so I'm trying to get the uncover, the discover, and the recover onto the screen so that the ladies can write it down. Ladies, if you have any questions at all, please be sure to put them in the comment section so that while we have a few moments, we can have Erica to answer some of these questions. And so you ladies had some amazing questions for Tameka as well. And so we just wanted to continue in that vein of being able to ask questions as it pertains to mental health. So yes. Ladies have thoroughly enjoyed this particular session. This has been so good. Carrie said she was hollering many shouts in agreement. Listen, I think I really went in when you was pulling out the props. I said, "Oh Lord, now let me get my tithe and my offering out here," because
right, the props seal the deal, Brandy. I'm telling you, they seal the deal. And I have them like sitting around in my house. And so if I'm in a mood or something and I just see a prop, I'm like, okay, get yourself together. Yeah. You know what that means. Don't play. Right.
That was so good, because you took something as complex as the word trauma. I feel like it's being used so much now, and you made it very like tangible for us to grab onto and personal. You know what I mean? Miss Jocelyn says, what if you locked your feelings away for so long that you don't know how to open it up and feel again? What would you say to that, Erica?
So what I would say to Jocelyn is we may need to go ahead and get you scheduled for seeing a therapist, because, if you've been in this cycle of not dealing for so long, it may be traumatic to just try to open it back up on your own, to do it solo. That could be traumatic in itself. I would encourage you, and I know that we gave some resources earlier, to look into having a therapist, look into finding basically just your accountability partner in your process of healing. It's very important that, I think it's a great thing that you even realize, like, hey, my feelings are locked away and I don't know how to open it, so that's the first step. So since we know that now, the next step is just getting you some help, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with getting some help. I'm a therapist that has a therapist. Yeah. And I had to be humble. Like, girl, you got issues. Go sit on somebody's couch. Yeah. And it works. It works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that answered your question, Mendez.
Yes, ma'am. Tracy says, I learned in Toastmasters that props are an extra incentive to draw the audience in, and you did that. Toastmasters would
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. Yeah, for some people, we are visual learners. So, for me to just talk, it could be a challenge for some people, but for some of you all, you're gonna remember this right here. You're gonna remember that.
Listen.
When you see it at Home Depot, you're gonna remember the conversation. So props, they are very, very, very beneficial. They are.
Yes. I know I have to go to Lowe's today. So if I see one of those, then I'm gonna definitely be thinking about now who I let water some unhealthy seeds in my garden. I'm gonna be in the checkout line thinking about this thing, like who I need to take to my sessions, with my therapist, so we can make sure that we're uncovering these unhealthy seeds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes. Latasha says, what advice would you give to a single parent who is raising children where the father has decided to abandon having a relationship with the child?
Okay. So once again, and I shared it with you all while I was speaking, honesty. We want to make sure that we're being honest with the child, right? And so there is a way to do it in which is not as maybe as hurtful, right? To just say, oh, your daddy don't want to be in your life, and that's just it. No, there is a healthier way to do it, but that would be something that you would creatively have to come up with. I would definitely be honest. You don't want this child. You don't want to water a seed of being dishonest. You don't want to water that seed, because when the child gets older and here they have this story that's been created and they find out that it was never true, then that's trauma, even more trauma. More on top of the fact that his dad wasn't there. So as his mother, I would really encourage you to be honest. It would be probably beneficial for you guys to go to family therapy at some point, because he's going to have some questions, some concerns that you may not be able to answer for him. You may not be able to answer in such a way that will provide him some type of peace, because you're in the situation as well. It's not like you're externally a part of this. No, like this is, y'all are all in this together. So the biggest thing that I would encourage you to be honest with him and just do your part. Do your part.
Yeah. That's good. Very good. Very good. We have time for just a couple more questions. So we'll see. I mean, I feel like I'm grabbing all of these nuggets from all of you ladies, because from top to bottom, you ladies have just wowed me with I never had a doubt, because I was very prayerful about who is passionate about this, and who do I know that's going to bring this information a way that the ladies can really grab hold of it and make it very practical. So I didn't have a doubt, but I'm just like in awe of man, you ladies have just been absolutely amazing. Mendez says, thank you, Latasha, for asking this. It helped me as well. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Angela says, what's the name of your book, Erica?
Okay, so the name of my book is called Deal With Your SHIT. I actually have it right here because I'm still dealing with mine, right? So it's on Amazon.
I need to get a copy of that too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon. You can get the paperback or you can get the ebook. And in the book, y'all, it's a very, very easy read. It's a very easy read. After each chapter, you get a chance to journal your journey. You get a chance to do that. Because a lot of times we'll read books and we just read through them and that's just it. And we got to keep it all up here. But in the book, it allows you some time to reflect, to digest, and put some stuff on paper. That way, when you go back to look at it, you may be able to see some growth or lack thereof. So, like I said, it's a very easy book. I shoot straight from the hip, and hence the name of the book. And so, for me, I just feel like that's the only way to get true healing is to be real. So, yeah, it's on Amazon.
Love that. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback.
Okay.
Okay. Latasha says, thanks for the advice. I've done both of these, being honest and seeking therapy. Great feedback to know I'm doing the right thing. Yes,
awesome.
ma'am. Miss Washington says, love it. Carrie says, just like church notes. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Angela saying, we can tell. I'm thinking that's in response to you saying you shoot straight from the hip. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you know what? I've realized over the years I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. I used to struggle with that. Like, oh, you don't want to come? No, I'm not for everyone.
Yeah.
God has ordained me to speak to certain people, and certain people will hear my voice, and that's just what it is. So, you know, hey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can appreciate that, especially today, because sometimes when we're dealing with trauma, we have a hard time with hearing the truth. When in reality, when we're trying to heal and process through trauma, what we need is the truth, because a lot of times we have told ourselves so many lies just to cope, that we need somebody who's gonna be like, boo, like, I'm gonna need you to get it together, because you have been stuck in this for way too long, and we need to come up out of this. We need to start shifting some mindsets. And so I thank you for your transparency, Erica, because that's something that is so needed. And like you said, that's how you know that God has ordained and called you to this particular lane, because he's taken that part of your personality that shoots straight from the hip, and he can use that to bring truth in hard places. You know what I'm saying? And so he's definitely
I'm gonna throw handkerchief at my screen.
Right, handkerchief, shoe, whatever.
Brandy.
I get to preach on every now and then. You know. Ladies, make sure that you check out her book on Amazon, Dealing with Your Shame, Insecurities. Shame, Hurt, Insecurities, and Traumas. Yes, if you can remember, it is SHIT. The word your mama probably told you not to say when you were younger, but she has given it a whole new name. And so please check it out. Erica, let the ladies know where they can follow you on Instagram, your website. They want to book a session. Like, let us know how we can connect with you.
Okay, so I'm on. I got some feedback on my end too, but hopefully that you all can hear me. I'm on Instagram at Smileology Counseling. So Smileology is spelled just the way that it sounds: SMILEOLOGY Counseling. My website is smileologycounseling.com, and I'm on Facebook too, Smileology Counseling Services. So if you are interested in following the journey, being a part of this journey, and we can learn from each other and grow together, then by all means, please, let's link up, okay? If you're interested in booking, if you want to do some one-on-one therapy, you can do that straight from my website, which is once again, smileologycounseling.com. But Brandy, thank you so much for creating this platform. Thank you so much for not allowing this pandemic to get in the way of what it is that you've been purposed to do. This was well needed. My prayers that women walk away today full, but in a good way, and that they use it and apply it to their lives in such a way that will be healing for many years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. And many thanks to you as well, Erica. I had gotten my lineup together, and I was like, God was like, I'm not through with this lineup. I need you to add one more person. And I was like, who? And literally, I opened my Instagram, and your information popped up. You had made a post that day, and God said she's the one. She is the person to put in, because she's going to talk about trauma. And so I know that this was God ordained, and I'm grateful for your gift. Girl, you come through and shut it down. I'm gonna have to make you a regular on the docket when we're talking about mental health.
Please do. I would love to. I'd be honored.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again. Ladies, make sure that you are following her movement with Smileology Counseling as well. And so, Erica, we are going to, it was literally the dream team. Thank you, Ms. Washington. Erica, we're going to have you sign out so that we can bring in our next speaker and wrap up the day. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And I will be in touch. See ya. All right, ladies. Woo! Okay, so we have come together. We've talked about the woman at the well, dealing with her insecurities, dealing with her shame. We've gotten with Robin. We've gotten our relationships together. We've gotten with Tameka, who has talked to us about our children, managing our anxiety and our depression, managing, our ability to control our emotions in this time, as well as managing our grief during this time, right? And then Erica has just come through, shut it down once again, talking to us about how to resolve our trauma, how our parents may not have known better, but they did the best that they could with what they had, right? And so now we're going to wrap up the day with Miss Christina Garrett from Mamathon Diaries. I'm going to go ahead and bring her into this stream. Christina, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Absolutely.
Good,
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. You look pretty. Got all your colors and all of that going on.
Go a long way.
Right. And I'm loving the cut. I see.
I want it shorter, but I'm not telling my husband.
Right. Yeah, he ain't gonna go for that.
It's gonna be now.
Right. I love it though. Like, you know, I'm all for a good poof in the front, you know.
Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna make it like extra large and in charge. And
yes, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on board. So I feel like this is just the perfect way to round out what has already been an amazing day. Christina is going to talk to us about self-care and creating boundaries. And so, Christina, I'm going to have you do just a brief introduction about who you are and what you do. After you do your introduction, and I'm going to back all the way out. And girl, you're just going to do your thing, boo.
Okay. Let's make it happen. Just wave at me when my time is up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So go ahead and do your introduction and then just a brief introduction. And then after that, I'm going to sign out.
Okay, sounds good. Well, hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Garrett. I am a productivity and organization coach. And so I help women in my tribe and beyond to reorchestrate their schedules, to work on their home management, their family management, so that they have more sanity and they get more done. So I am a loving wife of a wonderful 6-foot chocolate man. We've been married now 13 years, and I am the homeschooling mom of 5 very loud and busy children. And we homeschool as well. So all of those things kind of comprise the Mamathon mission and what we do.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. You know, me and Christina have never like met in person, but I feel like when we talk, it's like, hey girl, hey, you know, she's like that girlfriend that's like in another state that when we talk, I just feel such a sense of familiarity. And so without further ado, ladies, I'm going to back all the way out because this is her lane. So I'm going to just step out. I'll talk to y'all later. Christina, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Well, everyone, I am here today. I guess I'm wrapping it up for a reason. I have gleaned so much from the amazing women, the counselors and the coaches and everyone that has contributed here today. I was just listening and just snapping my fingers like these women are so phenomenal. And so I'm grateful. Thank you so much, Brandy, for having me today. So we're going to wrap all of the sessions up this evening talking about basically reorchestrating your schedule so that you have more time for self-care. A lot of times self-care is something that we talk about, right? We lay claim to the fact that we are all the way in there, but sometimes I dare to say that we don't really embrace it like we could. But what does self-care look like in a practical, everyday way? So with the Mamathon mission, we say, you know, Mother's Day can be every day, but regardless of whether you're a mom or not, you're married or not, even just walking in your journey of womanhood, there is something for you to get out of self-care, okay? So today we're talking in the realm of eradicating frustration. We want to see more fruition, fruitfulness, productivity in our life. And a lot of days, especially with the new abnormal, as they say, it seems like that's really hard to come by. So how do I take better care of myself? How am I more productive when now it seems like there's more that I have to do? Maybe you're now working at home, or you know, you're still doing all the same things that you used to do, but you may be grounded. And then they had the nerve to tell you that the children weren't going back to school. What do you mean they're not going back to school? So now we have to reorchestrate our life, our hours, all of those things in order to get the most out of who God says we are supposed to be, okay? So I'm going to go through a couple of tips today. Amongst the mamathon ladies, as we call them, the divas, they hear me talk about these principles a lot because it comes down to self-perspective, knowing yourself so that you can love better and serve others better as well. So number one, sis, why are you frustrated? Why are you frustrated? You may have to take a few minutes, go sit somewhere all by yourself. You may have to reorchestrate your entire life for just an afternoon to make time and go sit and say, what is causing me frustration? I get frustrated when things in my house are cluttered, okay? Now, for a lot of people, it may be something else. It may be work. It may be your children, you name it, right? But you got to sit down in that moment and say, why am I frustrated? What's going on in my life that when I'm walking through my house, because I think everybody's at home right now, walking through my house and I go, what makes you do that? What makes you do that? Make a list of those things that are causing you frustration, that are causing you to sigh with that exasperating sigh that you have. My husband and I, we're very in tune with each other. So when I hear him start to breathe deep like that, I say, okay, y'all leave daddy alone for a little while. Or when he sees me go, and he says, all right, kids, we're going to take a ride or we're going to go do this to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the entire family. So I need for you first to sit down and just reflect on why you're frustrated. What's going on in your home, in your heart, in your environment that is causing you to feel overwhelmed, that's causing you to feel frustrated? Is it that your home life is crazy? Is everything out of control? Is it because now you don't know what's going on with your job? Do you even have one anymore? Is it because you've been trying to do some things subconsciously, but you haven't been able to bring it forth to make yourself actually do that work? What are the reasons that you're overwhelmed and you're frustrated? If you don't know what they are, then how do you fix it? So a lot of the counselors and ladies today, the therapists, have talked about, doing that work, right? Going backwards so that we can move forward. And so in the Mamathon mission, as we are doing that internal work, Christina's here to challenge you to do some physical work, right? To look outside of yourself. Carrie said, yes, that first one. Look outside of yourself, walk through your home, deal with your children and say, okay, what's happening here that's causing me to be frustrated? That's causing me to feel like I'm drowning every day. So I'm going to tell you guys, my Mamathon ladies, some of you guys are watching, they know I have 5 children. Okay. So they range from age 12 down to 2. When my oldest son was almost 2, we found out that we were pregnant with twins. Fast forward a couple months, I have a 2-year-old son and twin babies. Your girl was not okay. I was not okay. Everything, I was not okay. My husband would come home sometimes. He would just see me sitting in the hallway crying. Just be sitting in the hallway crying. And he said, are you all right? Like, yeah, I'm okay. But eventually I would say things like, anybody could do this job. Anyone could change the kids' diapers. I'm not really a valuable asset to this family. Y'all don't really have to have me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be me that does this. Anybody could do this. I didn't feel like I was a great mom. I didn't feel like I was operating at my highest, right? So what I started to do was look at those things that were frustrating me. What is it that I'm not enjoying about my life? What is it that I need more of? And what do I need to do less of? How do I need to assess these things? Okay. So if your home life is crazy, if your family is crazy, then we got to look at it so that we can fix it. So walk through your home. Are you frustrated that maybe your children are Netflix and chilling and you're the one up scrubbing stuff? Are you frustrated that, you know, I have 5 kids. I'm still working on, y'all can't see it in the camera, but can y'all hear that? I'm still working on that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I get frustrated with myself for the things that I want to see different that haven't changed yet, that I haven't made change yet. So you have to address, why am I overwhelmed? Make a list, write it down, stare it in the face, be okay with being uncomfortable. All of the ladies have talked and they've comprised today about doing that inner emotional work. But I dare you to walk through your own home, the place that you are now spending the majority of the time, and say, what is happening in this place that is driving me nuts? What is happening? So I can sit here, Christina, and say, I get overwhelmed when I walk through my house and it looked like y'all have no respect on my name at all. Y'all done tore the joint up, right? I get overwhelmed when I don't take care of myself. When I don't go outside, I walk outside every morning, rain or shine. And I walk up and down the street and talk to God. I probably look crazy, but I have to disconnect, because inside of my house, I can't pray without somebody going knock, knock, knock on the door. Christina gets overwhelmed when I don't take care of myself physically. So when I don't kickbox, you know what I'm saying? When I don't dance with Sean T, when I don't go running, right? I get frustrated with me because I have not made time for myself. So what are those things that you need to address? What do you want to see that's different? What do you want to see that's different? You have to know what that is. If you don't know what it is, then you're going to miss it, okay? So a lot of times our families are gleaning the frustration that we actually have with ourselves. I'm irritated with myself because I haven't done the work. W-O-R-K and W-E-R-K. All the work. I'm frustrated because I haven't done the needed things to maintain myself. And so now my husband is training for a 5K. He's like, you know, I really get what you're saying about that emotional drive, like that push when you out running. And I'm like, listen, I've been trying to tell the whole world, you know, if you want to change your life, train for a 5K, right? But I didn't wait for anybody to validate that for me, because I knew I was different. If I go a week without running, it's going to show up in my mood, because you've got to make time for yourself. So let's just take a little while. If you have that piece of paper close by you, you've been taking notes, write down those things that are frustrating you, but be honest enough with yourself to say, sometimes I'm frustrated with me. Sometimes I'm frustrated with myself, okay? So as we're walking through our new abnormal, make the list. Be uncomfortable, but sit there with it. Ask God, why am I jacking stuff up? So for the Mamathon movement, our key scripture is Proverbs 14:1. And it says, a wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. So I had to walk through my house and say, God, I want to be a wise woman who builds. I don't want to be that foolish one. And I would have to sit with that thought and say, okay, God, how am I tearing it down with my attitude, with how I respond to my children, with how I don't make self-care a priority, all these things. Sit in that truth, okay? Number 2, I want you to communicate the need. Communicate the need, especially to those people who are around you, okay? Your babies, they're getting the brunt of it. Just like the brilliant one before me, she talked about how you can't give, no one can give you what they don't have. The same thing goes vice versa. You cannot give to your children or even hear from your children or your loved ones if your ears aren't tuned to the right frequency. So what we have to do is learn how to communicate the need, as well as create an environment for other people to have needs too. Because sometimes we can get so self-carry that we don't think about anybody else. It's like bump the whole family, which, listen, I'm here for it. You know, take your time. But sometimes we end up excommunicating everybody else only in the pursuit of self-care. So we want to make sure that we are balanced with it, that we are communicating our needs in a way that our families can receive and respond to. They have to be able to receive it and they have to be able to respond to it, okay? So self-care and how we spend our hours, the priority management element, has to go hand in hand, because we cannot get what we need if we don't know what we need. We can't get it if we don't know. So because you've made your list, you're saying to yourself, I really do need to spend more time. I need to work out, because there's this subconscious thing that says, I don't like the way I look at my clothes. I don't like the way I look at my clothes. I don't like the way this stuff fits on me. So when I do walk around, I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like that diva version of myself. I don't feel like her. Where is she? Where is she? So you want to go and find that girl, that girlfriend that dated your husband, that fire chick. You want to go find her. The diva mom. Do you want your children to grow up and either marry a woman like you or become a woman like you? If you have daughters, you have to ask yourself that. So my son yesterday came to me and said, Mom, I'm becoming an amazing multitasker. And I was like, how so? He said, because, I was doing this and I was doing this and I realized that I could do this at the same time. And I was just so excited at how I was using my time well. I said, well, what you know? My babies listen to me when I'm on Facebook Live. So your priority management helps me to make space for my self-care. But I can't get what I need if I don't know what I need. So I had to be able to tell my husband, babe, I need time. I was telling a client the other day, I said, tell your husband that you're going to leave from this time to this time, that you need this, baby, I'm going to be gone. I know you got to work tonight or whatever. So I'm just going to be gone from 11 to 1 or 11 to 2 or however long. Just go sit in the Dairy Queen parking lot and eat your Blizzard. If that's all you can do, because where are we really going? Or you're going to go walk around the lake, or you're going to go do something social distance, right? You have to be able to make that space, but you also must be able to communicate it in a way he can receive, the way your children can receive. So I would tell my husband, babe, I need to run. Like yesterday he came home. He said, oh my gosh, what's going on with you? He's like, you need to go running. And so instead of running, we ran down the street and we went and got ice cream and sat in the car and listened to R&B jams and just left the kids in the house. What do you need to do in order to become that woman again? Find her, dig her out. She's in there somewhere, dig her out. So for Christina, I have to be able to communicate. Number one, I like my house a certain kind of way. It's different if my husband and I left something out versus the children who pay no bills, right? My kids, I'm a plant person, right? I'm a plant person. This is just one of my several. So Christina does not fool with her plant children, okay? What do you mean y'all were playing and you knocked over my plant? I'm allowed, as the queen of the house, you are the queen of your house, to say, this is how I want it here. And then you communicate in a way that they can understand it. And especially for children, not cooperating is not an option. You have to be able to infuse that in them. I'm the queen of the castle. If you're married, your daddy's the king of the castle. But most of the time, daddy doesn't really care about the castle in general. Mommy cares. So my husband, he's like, our house is turning into a jungle. I'm like, I know, isn't it great? Because that's something that Christina needs. And so I have to be able to say to my family, y'all are not going to chill while mom cleans. You guys are going to do this, okay? And for a while, we had a chore chart on the wall, or, now I say, I don't care who does it, just get it done. We have to be able to orchestrate those things. If you're in a relationship, that means that you know your love language and you know your significant other's love language as well. Or your children's, how they perceive and receive love, how they are understanding things. So I can intertwine my self-care as part of as part of this whole mission, getting everyone emotionally healthy, everyone in a place where they can speak their mind in a respectful way, so that my children have learned to say, Mom, I just need a little bit of bubble time. That's what we call it, right? I just want to go into my bubble for a while. I just want to process things. I just want to sit by myself. And that's okay. My husband can say, babe, I'm a little frustrated today, or I just got some things on my mind. I want to go for a ride. Cool. Enjoy yourself. And then the same thing goes for me. I need an hour. I need 2 hours to go somewhere, or to just go walking or whatever. I'll be back when I get back. Okay. So we have to be able to communicate what we need. If we can't communicate it, then we will stay overwhelmed. Okay. So you have to know that you need quiet time. You have to know that you need home support. You have to know all of these things, okay? And last but not least, number 3, you have to be able to step up and step into your best self. Step into your best self. A lot of times, our frustration, overwhelm, lack of self-care, lack of priorities, schedule feels like it's out of control, like it's lost its entire mind. A lot of times, these things stem from living under the radar, from living underneath our best self. So I know that I can be better. I know I can step up better. I know that I have these goals that have been on my list for months or years. And so what we do on the Mamathon mission is we challenge you to say, what are those goals, so that you can address them. So for me, running was a goal place where it didn't have anything to do with anybody else. It only had something to do with Christina showing up and being consistent. You know what I mean? It had to do with me being consistent. So I had to ask myself, what's really important? One day when I'm in heaven and my life is on candid camera and they play that video of how you responded to things and how you spent your time and all this kind of stuff, we want to make sure that what God says is important shows up on that camera, that we are really showing our families that they're vital. I'm loving myself and showing that I'm vital, but I'm also setting those boundaries so that I take a shower alone. I can go running. You know what I'm saying? I can have this time also to do the things that I need to do. So I need you all to ask, what's really important? So in conjunction with showing up with who God says we are, in conjunction with serving my family, am I stepping into my best self? Am I showing up every day because I know what my goals are? I know what I'm working on. I know where I'm going. I know where I want to see myself in the next 3 to 5 years. So every day I wake up, I already know what I'm going back to, right? I already know what's important. I've hugged my children. I look them in the eye. I communicate with them. I walk my husband out to the car almost every day just to go and kiss him goodbye. And that's something that we do, right? So then after that, Christine's going to get her workout in. I'm going to make sure that my children learn something, you know, so they got to learn something. But then when it comes to growing those goals, working on those goal-centered priorities, I ask myself, what am I paid to do? Whatever your job is, or if you're working on a dream or you're cultivating something, asking yourself, what am I paid to do? And if I'm not being paid to do it, can I delegate it to somebody else? So my big kids can clean with the best of them. They can babysit. They're babysitting their 2-year-old brother right now. I'm not paid to vacuum. I'm not paid to vacuum. But when it comes to things that help me grow in my purpose and work on me, grow myself, reading, I'm speaking like crazy, I'm connected with my community virtually, you know, all these things are things that only I can do. But there are a lot of things that are on that list, sis, that you can delegate to other people so that you can focus on what really matters. And so frustration happens and our self-care drops out when we accept less than our personal best. I get it. I know you're tired. I get it. I know it feels like you need a body double. There's not enough time in the day. I get it. The kids have needs. You have to meet the needs of your husband, your home, all these other things. I get it. But I'm going to tell you guys what my husband told me, and I wanted to hurt him after he said it, but he was right. He said, there are some people with more on their list to do than you, and they still manage to show up and execute. So in what ways are you living less than your best self? You may have all the information, all the tools, but you're not implementing because you don't have focus, because you're struggling with what really matters. What does God say is important? And are you getting paid for it? And can you delegate it so that you have time and space to work on you? Okay. And so a lot of times we're not implementing because we do something that I call watering plants. Bear with me. I love taking care of my plant children. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's very relaxing. It's euphoric for me to go out and water them. Oh, look, you're growing too much. We got to repot you, put my hands in the soil, all that fantastic. I prefer doing that versus some of the things that are difficult for my business, right? Like sending out proposals for corporate things and, all this. There's a lot of other behind the scenes things that we have to do, right? I would much rather water plants than do the difficult things, those things that cause me to step up, the things somebody may say no to, the things that are uncomfortable. Maybe it's something in your house that needs to be organized and fixed, right? All of this kind of stuff. No one really wants to do that ugly stuff. The making a list to figure out where you're going to be in 5 years. You don't even know where you're going to be next week. So we have to do that work instead of just doing the things that are tension relieving. Okay. So if you want to get rid of your frustration, if you want to stop being so overwhelmed in your home life, if you want to get more out of your day, you're going to need to stream off, take away all those things that you're not solely responsible for. And some of those things that we're saying we're responsible for, we really aren't, because someone else can do that. If you asked your boss, let's say you work a 9 to 5. If you asked your boss, if you paid me to do 3 things, what would those 3 things be? I want to make sure that I'm meeting the needs of the company. If you said, what were those 3 things? He would give you a list and you will only go and do those things. Some of the other stuff can be delegated. A lot of these other things can be delegated. If you have kids that are over age 3, they can learn to clean. If you need more time by yourself and you need to communicate that even to your kids, they may have to learn how to sit alone for 15 minutes at first and then work up to an hour or 2 hours, however long for you to go in your room and get some rest. You should be able to do that whenever you need it. You should be able to say, I need this bubble time. I need this time by myself without anybody around me or talking to me. I need this time. And then you can equip your family to say that it's okay for them to need the same thing. So if you're consistently experiencing overwhelm, number 1, figure out why you're frustrated. Make a list. Ask yourself about the new abnormal. Communicate your needs to your family. Hey, lady.
Hey.
And step into your best self. Do the work, all the work from all day to day. Do that work.
This was absolutely amazing. First of all, girl, when you pat your stomach, I was right there with you. I was like, oh Lord, I feel seen.
This is not right.
I feel seen.
I'm triggered.
Right, I'm triggered. That was a trigger for me. So, yes. This has been absolutely amazing. Amazing points about how we can step up and into our best self, but we can't do that if we're not taking the time to have, like you said, that self-care and that moment of knowing when our cup is overflowing and we're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that you said, even in a previous live that we did together about delegating as a business owner, that's something that I've even more so you reinforced that for me, that it's okay to delegate so that we don't feel overwhelmed. And so I wanted to open it up. Ladies, if you have any just quick questions, we have just a few minutes for some quick questions for Christina in regards to, let me share in regards to self-care and creating boundaries. I want to share your Instagram, and your Facebook handle so that the ladies can follow you as well. So what is your, or what handles would you like for me to share?
They can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Momathon Diaries. MOMATHON. The Momathon Diaries.
Okay. Got it. And on Instagram, is it just at the Momathon Diaries?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keeps life simple.
Right. Right. All of these outlets we have. So there you go, ladies. Please, please, please follow Christina. She has an amazing movement. I'm just always awed by how she's able to be a wife, a mother of 5, a businesswoman. She is like, you know, so active in her group on Facebook. She's always pouring out. So girl, I don't even, she got plant babies over there, y'all. I don't even know how she's finding the time to do all of this.
They make me enjoy my house more, you know, and it's like everybody needs that thing that is theirs, you know. Probably plant morning coffee, you know. It's like everybody should have something that you know is just for you. Like nobody else in the house cares as much about plants as I do. But it's like, well, it's my house.
Right. And that's your thing. That's what you enjoy.
You should be able to have what you want, you know.
Right.
Yes,
absolutely.
Indeed.
So we'll give it about 2 more minutes just to see if the ladies have any questions in particular. I know Carrie had a question earlier on in the broadcast with Tameka, and so she said that you came back and answered her question. It was 2 parts. Tameka answered some, and then I knew that your session would also cover her question as well with the self-care. So
absolutely. Well,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much. And I think one of the things that a lot of ladies struggle with is learning how to set boundaries with family. You know, because your husband, his needs are important. You got children, they're loud with their needs. They never stop needing. You know what I'm saying? Never stop needing. So now you got to say, well, this is okay. You can wait. I can shower alone. I can take this time for myself because ideally, we may not want to raise boys who marry women like we are, or a daughter who, you know, would you want to have a daughter that acts like you? And when my daughter was 3, I didn't want that for her, you know, tired and beat down and exhausted. I'm like, I would never want my daughter to, you know what I'm saying, to come out like that, where she felt like women get downtime, you know. I want her to be somebody that enjoys her journey, you know, and be able to enjoy this season of life, whatever season you're in. If you're a season, you know, where you're no kids, you know what I'm saying, and when you can travel, go and then put my your body, you know.
Absolutely.
And you should be able to enjoy the season and breathe, you know, even if you have 1 million kids, you should still be able to have time to breathe and love your life.
Yes, absolutely. Because you know, like you said, you can't pour out and, like Erica said, water those seeds if you know you're not even doing that within yourself.
Absolutely. You don't know what you need. It's like, well, you know, what do you want? I don't know. Where are you trying to go with your life? I don't know that either. Okay, well, how?
Right.
How to, you know, give you that?
But
no one else can tell you that. You got to spend time with God. You got to open up that notebook and have that time, because if you don't get uncomfortable in those ways, no one will be able to meet that need. Your husband will be jumping through hoops. You know what I mean? Trying to do everything for you. And it's like, well, I'm still not satisfied. Really? You this day. Now you mad he ain't put him in the right cabinet. Brother can't get it right, you know?
Right.
At a certain point, we just out of control. We become all, you know, control freakish. Nobody want to live with them.
No, they don't.
They just don't.
Harris said you spoke a lot of marriage help, delegating family help. Yet as a single parent without the help, without respite in your area, how do you overcome the feeling of frustration when you can't get to your desired list? Speaking from a parent with a disabled child. So if you got it.
Well, I would say that we have to look at the span of time that we have every day. Okay. And I add also that she still is going to have to do the work regardless of our family structure. So sometimes there are women in the community who are single with no kids. Some of them are single with kids. Some are married with kids. Some are married no kids. Everybody has a different, different schedule, a different load that they carry, but everybody has a load, right? So I would tell her still to find a way to take that little pocket of time. That may only be 30 minutes while her baby's resting. That may be an hour at the end of the night where you drink your coffee at 8 o'clock, like I do often, and try to stay up because I get sick of being tired sometimes. I get frustrated with myself because I don't stay up to address the list, But the only way that we get over being frustrated is by doing those things, you know what I mean? Is by staying up a little later or getting up a little bit earlier and engaging with our life. And so even if you are, single mom and your beautiful baby has different needs than maybe someone else's needs are, then you have to say, okay, when is my pocket of time? Not do I have it? You do have it. When is it? So do you need to drink your coffee at 8 o'clock or whatever it is that, you need to do to stay up a little later, and just sit there with your notebook and say, okay, for 30 minutes, I'm just going to ask myself, where do I want my life to be in 3 years or 5 years? Okay. Because when you wake up the next day, you can address it. And I'll also add that a lot of times we're frustrated with the things that we can see, not just these goals and, emotional health and all these things that we can't see that's floating around the world, right? Sometimes you're just sick of yourself because you walk down your hallway and you always stepping over stuff, or you open your closet and everything falls out because you never organize it, or you tired of the laundry pile, or all these things. Some of the stuff is the actual physical work, physical work, pushing the belly in the jeans, all that is physical work, right? So sometimes we have to remember that our mental and emotional health is influenced by our physical atmosphere, So if you are frustrated, for example, with waking up and you never have coffee cups clean, I have to tell myself, stop being so lazy that you don't wash your cups out at night.
Yeah.
Stop, take an hour and reorganize that space. Take an hour and do this or do this. The things that are frustrating you, it may not be so out there that you got to go see a therapist about it. Life coach say, clean that up. Like you're tricking yourself because you don't want to organize that, or you don't want to stay up later and make a list. Be honest. Say you procrastinate. Say you lazy. Say, I don't want to get up. I'm too tired. I just want to. Be honest with your lack of want to, so that you can fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything. This is so eloquent. Sylvia says this was just so informative. No need for questions. It was very informative. Very, very informative indeed. Very much so. Ladies, please be sure to follow her on Facebook. Follow her on Instagram. I think YouTube is going to, or not YouTube, but our streaming platform is going to kick us out in a little bit. Yes, ma'am, Christine.
I just want to know what Carrie said. I don't want to tell Carrie that I feel like she's being lazy.
Okay.
I know what it's like to be exhausted. And I'm saying I know what it's like to be exhausted. So at the end of the day, take your 30 minutes, whatever it is that you need to do to reorchestrate some things. So if, that may be, okay, I have to switch some things around with the schedule. I may need to say no to something in order to say yes to me. I may need to adjust my hours or talk to my boss or do something differently. There's some place that we can reshift something so that there's more energy. I never want a mom, especially a special needs mom, to feel like I call her lazy, because I would like to be so exhausted. I would do anything to be asleep. As a parent with 2 babies, I know how it is to be tired. So I want her to know, and she can feel free to reach out to me another time if she likes. But I just want her to know that it's okay to be tired. Drop off something else so that we can focus on what really matters.
Right. Yes, I agree. And I think, when you said that, my mind automatically just went for, there's somebody on this live, not specifically Carrie, but there's somebody who was sitting back saying, man, I'm lazy in this area. I could do better. Heck, I don't have no kids, and I'm like, I can tell you right now,
I'm still not working out.
I'm still not folding those clothes in there. Let's be crystal clear about what's not gonna happen. That's my area of laziness, and my mom thinks that it is pathetic. Like when she comes to my house, she just be like, I just don't understand. Like it is perplexing to her that I hate folding clothes. She'd be like, I just don't understand.
I do
like
too.
I'll wash them and dry them in a minute. Like I love washing them, but baby, when I tell you, when it comes to folding laundry and putting them away, that's my point of laziness. Like I cannot. I try to can and I cannot.
Yeah. And just be honest, do it. Just say I want to do it. And just
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it at all. And so, and also I want to say that in dealing with the frustrations, Carrie, that may be also something to process with your therapist. And if you're struggling, like Christina said, to set aside those pockets of time, utilize your time with your therapist to walk through that. Because your therapy sessions can also help you to be able to sort through not only the tangible frustrations and the intangible frustrations, but also some very practical ways to get that self-care in and set aside that block of time. So we got an amen corner on here. Listen, if y'all know of a professional laundry folder,
someday when you
put her away.
My mom gets it done.
Really?
Yes, like they come pick up the bag from the porch and they take it, they wash it, dry it, fold it, and bring it back.
Bring it back. See?
Yes, and they bring it back. So, you know, Miss Sylvia said, I would rather throw the clothes away. That's my girl.
Look, I haven't got that far, but when I tell you I hate it. I hate folding clothes, y'all. That's not, can't do it. Great advice. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for being receptive. And I'm glad that we could assist. And again, you can always reach out to us offline, because that is what this platform is for. And that was what this conference was for, was to be able to provide some good tools. And so, listen, when I tell you the ladies are going in, we hit a nerve with those clothes, honey.
Listen, it's a whole thing. And my thing is, I'll have my kids come and put their stuff away. I don't care if it's folded, it don't have to be folded, just stick it in the basket wherever it needs to go. And then my husband's our stuff is sitting in the basket looking at me right now. And I'm like, well, it'll be okay. It's not important. You guys paying laundry. So we got to do what matters.
It'll be all right.
It'll be all right.
All right. Thank you, Christina, for closing us out on this amazing conference. All of you ladies have been just phenomenal. I am just blown. I was just like thinking to myself, I'm just blown away. Not that I had any doubt at all, because I prayed about who should be a part of this conference, and I could not have picked a better lineup. And so we're going to have the replays going. Ladies, make sure that you're sharing it out with your networks for other ladies who would be interested in viewing. Christina's information is in the comments as well. Follow her at the Mamathon Diaries. Also, again, special shout out to you ladies for tuning in, asking these amazing questions. And Christina will also be joining us August 23rd for, is it 22nd or 23rd? One of those. I got to go back and look. This is my 22nd. Lord, Rona got my mind. Anyway, for Woman 360 conference, the World Changer edition. So I am praying that Rona gets up out of here so that we can be face to face. But if not, we will be tuning into a virtual platform. Either way, she's going to be back. So make sure that you're following the Pros of Esther Instagram, Pros of Esther Incorporated Facebook page. And Christina, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Much love. I'm going to let you get back to your Saturday. And ladies, thank you all for tuning in again. And again, follow our page, Pros of Esther, at Pros of Esther INC on Instagram, Pros of Esther Incorporated on Facebook. This has been truly phenomenal. If you have any questions, feel free to inbox us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And this is going to conclude our conference for the Well Woman. Take care, ladies.